Like conservatism is protecting a rigid view of the world that never really existed. It's a chimera. It's a facade. It's gee golly gosh, how much is that doggy in the window? You know what I mean? That was, built upon the piles of bones of human life that was, lost and expended. While Americans are watching how much is that doggy in the window, the CIA is removing the Mossadegh in Iran. And if you want to be a nationalist, you could be left or right, but especially if you want to be a conservative nationalist, you're playing the game on easy mode. You don't have to be critical. You don't have to think critically about this country and its legacy. That's why they're at war with history. That's why they hate historians and they hate journalists. It's because they don't want to reckon with the genocide of Native Americans. If Donald Trump had not won the last election, Renee Good and Alex Pretti would still be alive and enjoying their lives. Alex Pretti would still be serving our veterans in the VA. Renee Good's 6-year-old would be cradled in her arms, being sung his ABCs. So because of the decisions that this administration made to ramp up and escalate the way that they enforce so-called immigration law, right? And again, these are laws they've changed on their whims.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the podcast that everybody hates to love, the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast. I appreciate you giving this a listen. I would also appreciate you helping to spread the word about this show. To contact me, please send me an email at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. You could tell me why this podcast is so great, or even why it sucks. You could ask me questions or tell me about the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you. Anything you like. I would just be so happy to hear from you. Thanks. This week's episode is a Part 2 bonus episode. Back in October, in episode 40 of Season 3, I had Joe Payne on the show. We talked about all kinds of stuff, but still not enough stuff because we ran out of time. This week's show is a continuation of that episode, so you will get to hear us talk about even more stuff, but I highly recommend listening to Part 1 first. Otherwise, you might be a tad bit confused. But if you're into that kind of thing, being confused, I mean, then go right ahead and listen to this one first. It was a pleasure getting to sit down and talk with Joe a second time, and it just might be your pleasure as you listen to it. Enjoy the conversation.
Also, a quick note from the editor. We're working on a new setup that will hopefully improve the overall quality of our show, but unfortunately you might notice a slight echo in this episode as the new setup is still a work in progress and needing a few adjustments. Don't worry, your headphones aren't broken. We're just really new at this. But thanks for understanding, thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode.
So did you see they arrested Don Lemon and another journalist?
I saw the Don Lemon.
So we're at the arresting journalists phase of the
Well, we'll definitely
takeover.
get to that because I was going to ask you about that on your thoughts on not just his arrest, but the church thing and that. But first, how's it going?
Good.
What's new with you, man? Anything?
I mean, I'm okay, but
it's been a couple months.
The country's not okay, and
a lot going on.
Going through it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. You feel like you've been warning people for years, and you were called saying you were overreacting or you were hysterical.
Yeah.
And I take no joy in the I was right, they were wrong type of thing as masked federales execute American citizens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's on
journalists are persecuted.
Yeah.
Just lawlessness, like the multiple amendments of the Constitution or Bill of Rights don't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. Just lawlessness, complete lawlessness.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about the ICE stuff or not, because I know...
I don't mind talking about it.
Okay. I mean, I don't either. I have a feeling we are going to have some disagreements on it.
Yeah,
I know
well,
you are very
definitely-
passionate about it because I've seen some of your videos.
Yeah.
So
Well, it definitely.
I figured we'd end with the ice stuff.
Okay, sure.
Just we
whatever you wanna do.
kind of work our way into
Build
that.
our way.
Yeah.
We could leave off where we ended last time. 'Cause
Yeah.
You said you had more for me.
I do, yeah. I have some stuff, and it's funny because I have some stuff written down, and we did our episode back in the beginning of October. So
Yeah, different.
I don't really remember everything that was said to get me to write that down.
Okay.
So I might just say something and say, hey, does this spark a memory for you?
Yeah,
Or I might just form it in a question and be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this particular thing? Or
I'm
what I
pretty
mean?
good with the free association, so
Okay.
or disassociation.
Yeah. And then we'll probably bounce around a lot, which is, I mean, obviously not a problem.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
Where do you want to start?
I don't know. Let's see. I know where I want to start. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say too. Is I really have no clue how long this one's going to go. I know I have you for longer today, which is good.
Sure. Let's
But
just-
I mean, I'm up to go for however long we go. But I mean, for all I know, we could just run out of topics in an hour and we're done. I mean,
It's all jazz,
and
man.
that's fine
We'll
too.
make it
Or
happen.
we'll go 5 hours, whatever we got to do.
Well, yeah, it's all jazz.
So, first place I want to start is kind of simple because ever since we did our episode and then watching some of your videos, and you talked about like Woody Guthrie and some of that kind of stuff, which I looked up a lot of his stuff, by the way, since
cool.
meeting with you last time. Some of it's hard to find. It's kind of like you find a lot of different versions. Like even if you type in Woody Guthrie this song or
Yes.
whatever, you get
Yeah.
other people's version of it,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but it'll still say Woody Guthrie
yeah. Because
as if he's singing it. And I'm
Well,
like,
everybody
"That's
wants
not
to
him."
give credit. Oh yeah, I see what you're.
You know what I
saying.
mean? Like it's a
Yeah,
cover
definitely.
version by someone else, but you can tell the difference between the two voices. Like that's not Woody Guthrie.
That's not. Yeah. And that's why I like a lot of my studying of him was done through the library and going
Okay.
and picking up his Dust Bowl ballads. or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's the one that I was checking
that's-
out.
That's
yeah.
a good one. Or greatest
Okay.
hits or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
we have greatest hits back then.
Right.
Greatest hits about fleeing
Yeah.
the Dust Bowl and
Right.
the Great Depression's greatest hits.
How do you call that a greatest hits? Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
exactly penned out of a pleasant time in history, you know.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Did you? I just thought of this. Did you ever go? Are you a fan of the Melodrama?
Oh, I love the.
Did you go the year they did the Woody Guthrie?
No,
Years
Oh,
ago.
Okay.
This was like probably
Many
at
years.
least 15 years ago.
So when I was at the newspaper, the Sun, the weekly paper, I was the arts editor for several years.
Okay.
And so I got to go to every local play, every PCPA play, every Melodrama play, and
Okay.
I reviewed.
Oh,
I
nice.
did reviews, and so
Okay.
I love the Melodrama because
Yeah,
it's so
we love it.
authentic
Yes.
and like old school theater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of the actors are triple, quadruple threats where they can sing, they can
yeah.
act, they can dance.
Yeah.
But some of them will bust out an instrument.
Right.
They have the piano player. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like
Oh,
so
it's-
nice.
dude, it's awesome.
I wish I'd seen the Woody Guthrie one. There was
So it wasn't a full play. It was you know how they do the vaudeville review.
oh, so they did a review.
So
of
the
Woody
vaudeville review was, which usually the vaudeville review
Man.
is like slapstick, funny, you're laughing. This one was dead
Probably
serious.
quite heartfelt,
It's the
yeah.
only time Bethany and I have ever left it going, boy, that was, I mean, it was good, but it wasn't what we were expecting because we've seen so many of the vaudevilles that
Yeah.
are just funny, right?
That's what I like about them is they will surprise you
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
With stuff like
And it was, since you've been to lots of them, I'm sure you're familiar at least with George Walker.
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
he's the one that did it.
Oh, thanks.
He did
that
Woody
was,
Guthrie.
That was before he was like a resident artist, maybe at PCPA.
Yeah, it was before PCPA.
Wow, that's
he
yeah,
was a
that's
pretty
quite
standard actor at Melodrama. Like when we were going for at least a few seasons, he was always one of the main
wow.
guys.
Good. Well,
So
that's cool because you can. We went for so long and saw so many different setups there that you really do. Like we have our golden age of the Melodrama where we remember the players who were
Right.
out there at the same time. We're like, that's when they were.
yeah, so just like SNL, right?
Yeah, totally.
People
It
have
is
their,
like
their
that.
era
It
of,
was
oh
like
no, the Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase days were the best.
Yeah,
And
who
I'm saying,
cares?
no, it's Chris Farley,
Chris
Adam
Farley,
Sandler.
dude.
Yeah.
I was bummed they don't have the portraits around the.
Did they take him down?
They took a lot of those portraits down,
Oh,
which
no.
is a bummer because
I loved that.
You got to like reminisce over those times.
Yeah.
And, like one of my favorites was like Breanne Murphy and Chuck McLean. There were a couple, and they were so good.
I
Like
don't recognize the names. Maybe if I saw their faces, I'd know them.
she's done some work at PCPA since,
Okay.
like as a visiting artist, and
Okay.
then we were at frickin' Disneyland in the stagecoach, or what's the
the
saloon, you know?
yeah, what is it called? It's next door to the Stagecoach Cafe or whatever, but it's called the
It's the whatever saloon, and we were in there, and
Yeah.
then they're like, here comes the mayor of Frontierland or whatever, and it was Chuck McClane.
Oh, really?
I was like, I know this guy. I know
so
this
funny.
guy. Yeah, I was like, that's Chuck McClane. So
oh my gosh,
so,
Golden Horseshoe.
The Golden
That's what it's
Horseshoe.
called.
Yeah,
Yeah,
working actors, man. Like the Melodrama is working actors.
Yeah.
And also just really talented actors who can sing and dance.
Oh, yeah.
And you never know, they might bust out an instrument. George Walker could do that.
Oh
So,
yeah, he was funny. He could be serious. He was always our favorite. My wife especially. She thought he was great.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the one that was the karaoke kid?
No.
So it was based on Karate Kid.
Oh,
the
okay.
full story. I mean, the whole story was Karate Kid, right? And you had the Daniel LaRusso character, but the way he fought wasn't with karate; it was with karaoke.
Oh, okay.
And it was all these like
Do karaoke
'90s
offs?
hits and
That's
stuff.
so
Oh,
funny.
dude, it was the best because all the music was like from the '90s when I grew up listening to all that. It was epic, and I think some '80s was in there too. But
Man, we just watched the movie. I had never seen it, and it's like
Karate Kid.
No.
Oh.
You go like decades without seeing famous, like well-known movies that are like touchstones, and you're like, why haven't I seen that yet?
I'm Godfather. Still haven't seen it.
Oh, what?
I know.
What's wrong with you?
And I'm a film guy too. I know.
We got to stop the pot. No. Empire Records. We saw Empire.
Oh,
Records.
love that movie.
Yeah, and so that was like a '90s time capsule.
Oh, dude, totally.
Because I loved High Fidelity.
Okay.
But
yeah,
like
with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Empire Records.
He was-
No, that was John Cusack.
But wasn't Philip Seymour Hoffman wasn't he the record store owner?
I don't know if he was.
I'm pretty sure.
In
If I'm thinking
High
of the right
Fidelity.
movie, High Fidelity. I could be
Maybe
wrong.
I can't remember,
Anyway,
but
yeah. Empire Records. Great
Empire
movie.
Records is fun, but it was like, there were just such a mixtape in that, like just track after track after track, and it was also just the vibe. Like, man, that was the coolest thing. In the '90s was to be a kid who worked at a record store.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Plus all the actors that were in that before
Dude,
they were
so
big,
young.
right? Yeah,
yeah. Some of them never got that big,
Right.
But like you still see them. You're like, wait, I recognize them,
Right.
And so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that was fun
that was
to
a
watch
blast.
that.
I tripped out when I saw because they came out around the same time as Dazed and Confused. But to see the guy that plays Slater in Dazed and Confused play, I forgot his name in Empire Records, but the guy that blows all the money in the beginning. And
Yes, he's funny. He's
Yeah,
that's
he's
a really
awesome.
good performance.
Yeah,
And he's not,
Rory something.
yeah,
Rory,
I can't remember.
yeah.
He's not in a ton of stuff. I looked him up and I was like, oh, he's still working, and he's always worked, but he's not in like the biggest things you think of.
I think that's the only two things I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm sure. But Dazed and Confused is another one that had all kinds of people in it. They're like, oh my
All kinds
gosh,
of
it's
people.
Ben Affleck, Matthew McConaughey, like all these people.
Man, we got on Disney Plus. They had NYPD Blue. So we started
the show?
the cop show. Yeah,
wow.
NYPD Blue. So we started watching that, and it was like, holy cow! Like you see all these actors super young, and it's just like work. You know what I mean? Like they're working. Where it's like, okay, they need a. The spouse of a murder victim, like he never did nothing, he never went nowhere. It's like, I recognize her. And NYPD Blue is fun because it's almost like, because I love Seinfeld. We both, my wife and I love
Great
Seinfeld.
show,
So it's almost like NYPD Blue is a weird mirror where like you're seeing the seedy side of all the Seinfeld people's lives that you don't see in that show. Because a bunch of the same actors are in it, and like you see Poppy, you see all these same actors except like
That's awesome.
the main four. But very gritty show that was trying to deal with a lot of the things that are realities in like law enforcement, racism, sexism, class, class, all those different things. New York as a changing city or just a big metropolitan area, stuff like that. So it was fun.
That's why we liked it. The only real cop show I ever watched was I always forget the name of it, with Liv and Elliot are the two main characters. Dang it,
Can't remember.
SVU.
Okay.
Is it CSIS? No. Not
Yeah,
CSI.
it's one of those SVU Special Victims Unit. Or
Law and Order SVU.
Law and Order,
That's what it is. Yeah. So my wife used to watch that one. I kind of catch an episode here or there.
I've never watched any Law and Order.
Okay.
There's certain procedurals that I enjoy and then ones that I don't. I like ones that are a little more gritty. I like Bosch on Amazon, which is based off Michael Connelly novels.
Oh, Harry Bosch.
Yeah,
That's
Harry
the Lincoln
Bosch.
Lawyer, right?
So
Or different.
Lincoln Lawyer is in the Bosch extended universe of the books. The Lincoln Lawyer is Bosch's long lost half brother.
Oh, but they have the same last name. Is that why I'm confused? Is Bosch?
Maybe they do. I
I
don't
feel like
think
Matthew
don't.
McConaughey's last name was Bosch in the movie. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Because they did the Lincoln Lawyer movie, remember?
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
I've only
okay.
seen the Netflix show.
Okay.
So it's weird because in the books, Bosch. It was like Bosch, Harry Bosch, this gritty
Yeah.
Hollywood homicide detective who
Yeah.
goes his own way and ruffles feathers and that kind of thing. And then he introduced these other books, The Lincoln Lawyer, who's this lawyer who's always cruising around.
Yeah, he works out of his car. Cool.
Works out of his car.
Yeah.
And then as the stories progress, spoiler alert, it's discovered that Bosch and the Mickey, right? Mickey,
okay.
the Lincoln Lawyer
They're related.
They had the same dad. Yeah.
Oh, so that's a connection they make in the books later.
Yeah, but it's funny because the Bosch show was licensed to Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it's good. And if you know a bit about how the industry works, you can kind of understand how these things are. Like, Titus Welliver got the part of Bosch, and he was like, I know this character, I love this character. And the studio, Prime Studio or whatever, was like, okay, well, how long do you think you could play this? He's like, I could play this character for 10 years. And so they did like 6 seasons of Bosch.
Okay.
2 or maybe more, I can't remember, of Bosch Legacy, where at the end of Bosch, he retires from LAPD, but then his daughter enters the force in Bosch Legacy.
Yeah.
So that's a way, if you end a show, you don't have to continue the same contract with an actor.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a way of saving money.
Sure.
And then they have another offshoot after they ended Bosch Legacy, which is Ballard, which is another series that
I've never heard of that one.
That Connolly started about Renee Ballard, and she's a lady detective in the LAPD, and it's about her dealing with a lot of the male-dominated field like law enforcement, LAPD, and all that. Yeah. But she like you're introduced to Ballard in the last episodes of Bosch Legacy
because they're probably preparing
setting it up.
They
set it up. But that's how you meet her in the books too.
Okay.
And she works with Bosch, so it's like you read a Ballard book, you're gonna get some of a Bosch book too. Okay. You know what I mean? So,
and is Michael Connelly, is he still alive?
Yeah, dude, that guy's crazy prolific. He just pumps them out. Like he's one of those writers who is just sitting down every day with, I don't know, maybe as big a coffee as I have right here, but he's just like, just spitting it out. But he also meets with law enforcement, retired law enforcement regularly, pays them as consultants, but also just has lunch with them and hangs
do your
out.
Research, man,
and talks to them. And there's like one retired detective who was the inspiration for Ballard and all that stuff. And he did that, but he started as an LA Times reporter and was on the crime beat. Like when he was young, he's like, I want to write mystery crime books. Yeah. And his dad was like, oh, I support you, son. But what would help you do that is, what if you became a journalist and you made that your beat? Okay. And I it's not like I sat around wanting to become a writer, but I wanted to do newspapers and newspaper journalism. And when you have a system, it's like systems thinking, right? Yeah. I know people who've like sat at home and written their whole novel, but like, or tried to or whatever. And then, but if you work for a newspaper, every week you got to produce something. Right. You got a deadline. It's like a deadline. So do it. See, that's so you have a system. You have a system where every week, at a certain point, you just get used to, I got to produce, I got to write. And so he also cultivated a lot of law enforcement sources and everything. Yeah. So that he could do what he did. That's cool. Yeah. And that's why his even law enforcement, I've talked to law enforcement who I work with sometimes who have said like, those are authentic. Yeah. Like, which is probably a good thing for an author to hear, right? Because that's kind of what you're going for. The last thing you want is for some cop to be like, dude, that's so unrealistic. That stuff never happens. Like I love the show House MD with Hugh Laurie. I love it. But most doctors will just be like, that's awful. Because doesn't he like function on like premonition or something? No. Deductive reasoning, sir. Oh, so he's like really smart. He's like Sherlock Holmes kind of thing? Holmes. Okay. He has a best friend named Wilson Watson. Like it's literally, he's addicted. Sherlock Holmes in a doctor's setting. Yeah, he's addicted to painkillers and he's like an egomaniac. Okay. Sherlock Holmes does opium. Like if you read Arthur Conan Doyle, he's doing heroin. Yeah. or he's smoking opium and stuff, which is helping him solve cases. No, but that's just what he does. Okay. If he's not on a case, that's a big theme in the show House is he's an addict and his cases are an addiction where he's always has a some clinical issue that no one else can figure out.
Oh, okay.
There's some medical mystery, and he solves it. So it's very unrealistic. He does things every week. He does something that would get his medical license revoked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it just makes no sense. There's a lot of fun. Dr. Mike on YouTube is fun, and he does things where he watches medical shows and reacts to them.
Oh, funny.
And he's like, Dr. House, you got your license removed, taken from you. What's wrong with you? You know,
Yeah.
so it's fun. But that's the fun thing where you, because I mean, I like all the way to fantasy. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings nerd.
Oh yeah.
But then Game of Thrones is fun because
I never saw that one. Is that worth watching? No, I'm like
Game of Thrones?
I'm one of 4 people in the world who's
Game of
never
Thrones
seen Game of
or
Thrones.
so
I've seen Lord of the Rings.
I held
times,
off
but-
on Game of Thrones for years, and everyone's like, "What's wrong with you? You're a Lord of the Rings nerd.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with? Why wouldn't you?"
Like till after it was over, then you.
I
started?
let it be over for a long time, and I heard everybody hated the ending.
Yeah.
And even for me as an outsider, I was like, "Well, the guy hadn't finished the books yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would the ending be good?"
Right.
You know, everyone's like, they got to season 6 or, there's like 7, I think. And that was like when it started being, there's no more books that he's written. Everyone's like, the dialogue's terrible now. It's like, yeah, why do you think that is? Like, it's not George R. R. Martin writing.
Right.
Like, wow, Peter Dinklage's Tyrion's dialogue sucks now. Yeah, because it's not this great writer writing it anymore. But so it took me a long time. Multiple times I started the first episode and I was like, this is cool. It's just not my time right now to watch it. But then once I finally was ready, you have to be ready. You have to make yourself ready to be open for it.
Okay.
It's amazing. And what's amazing about it is it's a fantasy, and it's fun to... I've watched a bunch of interviews with George R. R. Martin. And he's this little guy from Brooklyn. He's got his little hat, and he talks like this. He talks about Tolkien was high fantasy, and I wanted to bring fantasy down into the mud. Like I wanted to bring it down. And so what he means by that is Game of Thrones is very historically inspired, and so in Lord of the Rings, it's high fantasy. There is a king who is destined to be king and restore the lineage of the kings. It's very pining for an old empire that has declined.
Okay.
That's thematic
to
right now.
Yeah.
But Game of Thrones is really inspired by, what was life actually like in medieval times? What was it like to live in a feudal world? And it's inspired by the War of the Roses, where there was a legitimacy beef or crisis among
in history
British nobility. Yeah, the War of the Roses.
Not the Michael Keaton movie.
No, in England there was I've never seen
That's
that.
the first thing I thought of from the 80s.
Yeah, in England there was the War of the Roses, where there was multiple noble houses with a claim to the throne, to the kingship of England, who all went to war with each other. It's basically a civil war, but it was they call it a war of secession. Who gets to take the throne, and that's what that is, the Game of Thrones.
Which is why everybody was mad about the ending. I've never seen it, but I remember people talking. They were upset with whoever it went to, or whoever they chose to be the one, or
just
something.
wasn't a great ending. Yeah, I mean, what ended up happening? They didn't develop. And then this is my thing. The Game of Thrones is fun. The end of it is the least important part to me. It's all about the whole thing.
Right.
Before all of that. Yeah. Because it's about all these different...
Yeah.
It's a sprawling, huge story. There's 7 kingdoms that are all roped under the control of one king.
Okay.
Historically, and the whole plot takes place after this long line of the Dragon Lords. The Targaryen dynasty has been overturned because they had their own decline.
Yeah.
Their dragons are no longer living. And you have a king depose them, a revolution basically, and King Robert takes over. And then you see, this is takes place 20 years, the Game of Thrones opened us up 20 years after that, and King Robert is, overweight and debauched, and he dies. And then there is a war of secession over... a bunch of people feel like they have a claim to the kingship that he leaves open. His brothers and his children, which aren't really his children, and then you have this young Targaryen, a whole other continent away. There's like 5 kingdoms. It's very much like Europe and the East. That's kind of emblematic of that. And then you have this other the lone Targaryen heir to the king that was originally deposed 20 years ago, who is able to hatch 3 dragons for the first time.
Oh, nice!
In like a century
Kind of
or
like starting
more.
it over.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
But it's just super. Like there's multiple religions. There's magic. It's not clear where the magic come from.
Well, you're selling me on it now, man.
Dude, it's fun.
Okay.
And you read the books, and the books are there's a lot more depth to the books. And
Okay. The books.
and again, they're not even done yet. He's
still writing them,
finished
right?
them yet. Yeah, so
Okay.
I give the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, I give them a pass. I say, forget about it. Give them a mulligan. And if he ever finishes the books, bring all the actors back, CGI the dead ones, use that young up CGI stuff like in The Irishman to let them all do a mulligan. Just redo it.
Okay.
But now they've moved on. Part of his problem is he got so successful before he finished his series that now he's like, well, I'm going to write several prequels while I haven't finished. Everybody's kind of like, come on, George. Come on, man. Like,
we need it.
I for the longest time I was like, leave Brittany alone. Leave George alone.
Right.
Like, he can do whatever he wants. But it is getting a little silly where it's
usually
like, there's a whole other prequel series now?
Usually what happens in a thing like that is and I'm surprised they didn't do this. But it's like is it Netflix? No, Showtime. HBO? Who does
HBO
it?
has
So
Game of
HBO.
Thrones, yeah.
So I'm surprised that they didn't just say, okay, George, we're going to pay you X millions of dollars to just basically buy your characters and then just write their own continuation of the show instead of waiting for him to finish the novels.
That's kind of what they did with the last 2 seasons.
Oh, it is? Okay.
He was less involved with those ones, I think. Or he was involved, but in the first few seasons, there were episodes where he wrote the episode. You know what I mean? And the first episode is a perfect, the first season is a perfect, representation of the first book.
Okay.
Every season after that is deviating.
Oh, okay.
Farther and farther.
So is the first season your favorite of all of them?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But there's a lot of good. It's good. There's a lot of good stuff. Some of it feels like plotting to some people, and even maybe the third book. But it's like, there's a lot of palace intrigue and all this stuff because that's what this stuff was like. He's looking at, he's bringing in he's historically inspired, and is bringing that into fantasy.
Okay,
so that it feels, there's women are treated a certain way in a feudal society.
Sure.
Peter Dinklage's character is really interesting because little people, and dwarves in the context of the show are treated very poorly.
Yeah.
But he is protected to a certain degree because he's a Lannister. He's of this very, very wealthy house.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the nobility, have their and cool. There's class, there's race stuff going in there. There's just one character is disabled. There's really great characters like Brienne of Tarth, who's the lone swordswoman, the warrior woman who is a total outcast because she wants to be a knight, but she's a woman, and they're like, and then one of the daughters of Ned Stark, Sean Bean.
Sean Bean is in that show?
Dude,
Lord of the Rings?
Dude, yeah, Boromir, dude.
I didn't know that.
Dude,
okay.
So I won't say anything else more because I want you to just watch.
Well, what I want to know, though, so if I watch the first episode, will I know after that whether or not I'm going to like the show?
I think so.
Okay.
It should get you, it should rope you in.
Okay.
But also, you pick up the book, maybe.
Okay.
Pick up the book first, or the audiobook or whatever. It's really cool. It's really cool. He was struck by inspiration. The first some of the first scenes you see were the first things that came to George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
It's the Ned Stark, Sean Bean's character, takes his sons along with him because he has to execute he's the Lord and he has to execute a guy for. So he's the king. He's the Lord of the North. Mm-hmm. There's the ice wall in the north to keep out the the wild men from the north, and this guy is a part of the the order of the Night's Watch that have to protect the wall, and he abandons it. So the punishment for that is death.
Okay.
So Ned Stark takes him and chops his head off in front of his children.
Nice.
His boys, to show him you got to do what a man does, son. You got to do what a man does, and you got to do your duty. But then as they're leaving, they find a dire wolf, and they're like, some of his sons find a dire wolf, and they're like,
are those like extinct supposedly?
Yeah, yes, like there hasn't been a dire wolf seen, and that's the sigil of their house. So, and this dire wolf is dead and stuck through it. Or first they find a dead stag. Okay. And there's a trail of blood leading away from it, and they go and they find a dire wolf that has died, and it has the prongs of the stag jammed through its throat. Oh. Yeah. And it's funny because the boys are all intrigued, but all the old men are quiet. Because the stag is the sigil of the Baratheon house, the King Robert. So they see it as a portent, as a dark omen, and they're like, oh, but the boys are like, a dire wolf, and all the graybeards are like, oh, shoot, and so that's very intriguing and very interesting. But then there's puppies, and so there's the number of puppy, they find that there's puppies all huddled up to this dead dire wolf mother, and
dead puppies?
No,
they're living.
They're all still alive. This has all just happened, and there's literally the exact number of puppies for all of the Stark children, boys and girls, including his bastard, quote unquote, son, Jon Snow.
Okay, I've heard that name.
Well, and it's interesting because in the North, if you are not a legitimate child, you're given the last name Snow. In the other kingdoms, like you're given a different all illegitimate children get the same last name. So it's like, and there are things believed about you that you are. You can't trust a bastard, that they talk about and stuff like that. So Jon Snow gets one too. Okay. And so it's like, it's this weird portent, but then of doom. And you will see by the end of the season what it's symbolic of. Right. But then, all of these wolves are along in the story with their Stark.
I'm going to do it, man.
Dude, it's fun.
I'm going to watch the first one.
It's fun. I let go of the whatever it was keeping me from watching it, and then whatever it was that kept, I literally just let go of the last two seasons. Everybody get over it. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's more a fault of capitalism and the business side, where HBO is like, this show is getting crazy expensive. We have to end it. We have to end it. Because it was like millions of dollars, or it might have been like $100 million.
Well, they're probably bringing that in, though, right?
Well, but like. As popular as that show is. The thing is, streaming is not profitable. Streaming platforms are not profitable. I mentioned Bosch, right? Yeah. Great show. Why is that show? Why do they keep making more Bosch? Because it takes place in LA. It's actually a lot of fun. LA's like almost like a character in that show. Okay. But guess what? The streamers love to make shows in LA and about LA, and it's just all very navel-gazing LA. Why? Because there's tons of studio infrastructure. There's costume shops. There's prop shops. There's studio lots. There's all these places that, like, LA has tons of. I have people who do this for their living. They do the permitting and roping off areas of town, and putting up the flyers. We're going to be filming here. Like, LA has tons of infrastructure there for that. Right. So streaming platforms aren't as profitable because we don't have backlots. We don't have. Right. We ask it's like contract work. We ask everybody to do it on their own.
Well, especially a show like Game of Thrones, and obviously the landscape and all that kind of stuff. The set is like massive, and it's like Lord of the Rings going to New Zealand or whatever.
Well, and they went all over the world for Game of Thrones. Oh, okay. They to really, because it takes place across continents. Yeah. And
dude, how fun! Like to be an actor in that show and just to get to do that for however many years they did it. And that's why when you see the show finally ends, it shows all the actors and they're like literally in tears. Yeah, like, this was such a good time. This is a portrait of my life, and now it's over.
And you go watch the interviews and everything, and they loved it. I mean, they loved it, and it was and then as things start going south, and with the production, all of that stuff, they kind of you can see them trying to get upset with it.
Oh yeah,
but they're trying not to say anything. But
right. Because they probably can't.
Yeah. So I've like watched the extended version Lord of the Rings special features like way too many times. Yeah. And like that, you know, that's like for those people who worked on that, that was like the greatest times of their life.
For
and
sure.
it was like an amazing experience. It's so cool. Like, and that to me is just whether or not you want to think about, you know, it almost never got made, you know, and for whatever reason, Miramax took a huge gamble on it. Like they were ready to go bankrupt, and they tanked $100 million at the time in 99 or 2000, 2001. Across that time, they committed $100 million to a 3-film franchise, and a movie house that was about to go bankrupt. And obviously, Miramax is still around now. It was a huge gamble.
It's a good gamble.
Paid off. But it was also just like lightning in a bottle. Like everything had to be there. But to me, it's a testament of human creativity, art, human labor, like the things that we can do, the things that we wish to do with our imagination. You know, and
what's your favorite of the 3 of the trilogy?
I think it's still Fellowship.
The first one?
I love Fellowship.
I do too.
It's got the Shire.
Yeah,
it's got,
that's what I love. I love the beginning of the Fellowship one.
That's some of my favorite parts of the book too. People complain about the book that it takes forever to.
Well, they say he's just too detailed. Right?
Yeah, they're like, it's chapter 5 and we're still in the Shire. You know, it's like I'm like, good. I love it. Like some of my favorite parts of the movie is just Ian McKellen and Elijah Wood.
Oh yeah,
sitting across from each other.
Yes.
You know, this is the one ring, the dark ring of Soul Sauron, you know, and like they're doing that shot where like they move, you know, they're doing a dolly shot from left to right, and I know that the table is set up to where Ian McKellen's really close to the camera and Elijah Wood's far away, and the table shifts along with the dolly, so that you never notice the seam in the table that's giving you the illusion.
So you're a film guy, that's why you know you notice that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I don't think about it when I'm watching it. I'm just like drinking it in. But I know that's what they did, you know, and just because that movie's a marvel.
Are you able to turn that off? Because I can't turn that off. I can't just sit back and watch a movie and not pay attention to and notice stuff that I know that's going on the sides and behind the scenes.
But all that stuff is like it's not just behind the scenes, but it's like, what is the filmmaker showing you?
Right.
What are they not showing you?
Yes.
What did they decide to show you? What are they telling you? And that's some of my... When I first day in Mr. Garcia's class over at Rigetti, I told you about Mr. G last time I was here. He was like, I would always do an impression of him, and it's a modified Kermit the Frog. But he'd say, "I'm going to ruin movies for you. I'm going to ruin movies for you. You're never going to watch movies the same." And we were all kind of like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Anytime from I want you to understand what goes into this.
Right.
Every decision's intentional.
Yeah."
Unless they're just making mindless garbage.
Unless it's a crappy director.
Yes. Right. But even then, there are people who just like mindless garbage. You know, there's tons of like pulp horror stuff that I could care less about.
Or some of those action movies with like no plot or nothing. It's like, dude, why am I even watching this?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder if he's just going to beat everybody up and never die in this movie, just like he did in the last movie.
Well, there was one I remember seeing that was so funny. Like I went to watch it as an intentionally. Hard Target.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Where you have Wilford Brimley as like he reminds me of the guy in Waterboy. You know, like the Creole guy you can't understand. That movie was such hot garbage. But, and it's like...
I think they all were. All the Steven Seagal movies, I've just never really been into those movies. I just like, my friends growing up, dude, they loved those. They couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to go see this movie. And I was like, why? You know exactly. You're going to walk out of there with no new information than when you went in.
There's some people who like pro wrestling, man. I don't understand it
either.
But it's also like a lot of horror movies that I never...
Yeah.
Pinhead and... like I just don't... It never appealed to me.
Yeah, horror movies for me have to have they have to be entertaining in a way that's not just blood flying everywhere.
I like a psychological thriller.
Me too.
Like when I was way too young and I saw the movie The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay.
And I saw a lot of movies I shouldn't have seen way too young.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And
that was trippy.
You learn about serial killers. You learn about whatever, FBI. It's like it's not clear to you when you're a kid, I was a kid watching Silence of the Lambs. My mom shouldn't have let me watch it, but honestly, it was cool of her to let me watch it because as a young person, you know, I think I was in 6th grade or something.
Okay.
I was like, what, like violence, you know, you see her navigating being a woman in law enforcement and like, you know, there in the way there's ways the book tells that, but then there's ways that the movie tells that, like moments where you're in her point of view and it's all these like men staring at the camera. Yeah. You know, that's like supposed to put you in, like make you think of how she feels
as he's getting in her head and everything else.
That too, Anthony Hopkins never blinked.
Great.
He said he tried not to ever blink when he was on camera. He's only in the movie for like 18 minutes, I believe. Yeah, on screen. Yeah,
the whole movie is really about him. Yet you only see him for a little bit.
It's about her.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's about her, but it's about him too. But it's like it's about her, and
the later ones were more about him. Like the
they made it,
and
and that's the thing. That's you know, like with George R. R. Martin, when a writer becomes a victim of their own success, it's like Hannibal 2, Hannibal 3, Hannibal the prequel. You know, it's like okay, all right,
so that's enough.
But yeah, he really focuses on that character as this like uber exceptional. Like in the books, he has that. Polydactylism or whatever. He has like an extra finger. Okay. He has like hyper.
Really?
Yeah.
I never read the book, so
yeah. They try to make. They try to like allude to that in the movie where he can like smell like. And you wear Evian skin cream, but not today. You know, like he can smell like super smell, super sight. He knows all these languages, and he's like a superhuman. You know, but. You know, it's so I read the book like
after you saw the movie.
After I saw the movie when I was like in 6th grade, and like it was really amazing to be like, oh, there's like a scene in the beginning when her supervisor is telling her what he wants her to do, which is, you know, it's like the subtext. You get her point of view as narration. Yeah. So she's like, oh, okay. Like she's kind of understanding. Oh, okay. I'm just a piece of meat to wave in front of this guy because he's tired of talking to you. Right. And you need his help. You need Hannibal Lecter's help to do this, right? To find whatever serial killer we're looking for. Yeah. The behavioral science unit, right, at FBI, Quantico. But there's this moment where he goes, Starling, do you know what happens when you assume? And in the narration, you know, it says she nodded, or you know, she shook her head no, but she'd heard this several times before. She found it made it easier when dealing with you know, superiors who were men. Yeah, she just let them explain things to her. It made them feel a certain way. Right. And I was like, I'm a young boy, and being like, oh. Yeah, women have to navigate things differently with men.
But not only that, but the idea that she even thinks to do that, in at least in that scenario, puts her at a higher kind of intellectual level than the guy she's dealing with. Right.
Well, it shows she has a very sophisticated theater of mind.
Well, she's like she's playing in a sense.
Yeah, she has the theory of mind where she understands how she has to navigate that. And then in the moments in the book when she's talking to Hannibal Lecter, she's like. You know, it's like ballet. It's walking a tightrope in ballet shoes. Like she's really like having to navigate what does he want, quid pro quo, Clarice. You know, it's like very. So for me, that was a big like eye-opening thing as a young person. Yeah. It's funny, like of all the things you could be. I think my parents were a little like, why is this kid getting into serial killer stuff and weird stuff like that? But on the far end of it,
I'm worried about you.
You know what I mean? Yeah, at least she's reading. You know, at the far end of it, I become a writer. I become a journalist. Right. Like they've done studies now where reading fiction gives you more empathy. It literally is like an empathy drug, or not a drug, but an empathy tool, like which people who read more,
which might explain some things, right? Because kids these days don't tend to read as much as like when we were younger.
You know, we're all video brained, and everything is
on your phone. You're watching little 30-second reels, and that they're just scrolling reels all day, and it's just that there's no real info in there.
Other people become objects, you know, and just things you see on your screen, right? versus something or someone you internalize and take inside of you and try to understand them.
Right.
You know, and like,
Right.
you know, I had friends who were at one of these ice raids in Santa Maria. They're just going to the market, and then all of a sudden they see a car that has its window shattered open, and, you know, local law enforcement having to come clean up their mess that they've made,
Right.
attacking this person. And, you know, they sent me some video, and I posted it on my political Payne. You can follow me on
Yes.
TikTok, Instagram. Sorry, that's awful.
No, I do that in the intro anyway. I always plug you in.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I want to make sure that people know where they can find
yeah,
this stuff.
so I talked about it and I posted it, but like my friend was saying how surreal it felt. Like it felt surreal to be seeing that type of thing in front of you, because
Right.
I'm used to seeing it flip by on a screen on my
Right,
phone.
right.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, because and I was talking to someone in law enforcement not too long ago, and they were like, it's not just fight or flight, it's also fight, flight, or freeze. You know, and a lot of people, you know, are coming to the realization that we're living in a time and place where you have to make decisions about
Yeah.
what you're going to do
Yeah.
on your street, on your block, in your city,
Yeah.
in this country, that how you're going to protect yourself, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do.
Yeah.
Could come right to your front door, could kick your door down. So,
You know, we're going to get there.
yeah.
But first, let's not leave Anthony Hopkins. Have you seen?
Hello.
Have you seen Instinct?
No, which one's that?
A lot of people haven't seen this one. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and it's Anthony Hopkins, Cuba Gooding Jr. So Anthony Hopkins' character lives out in the jungles with gorillas.
Oh,
Have you seen this?
Oh, like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He's scary in it, right?
So good, man.
Isn't he like a scary
they
guy?
bring him to jail because he murders some people out there. But then as you're watching the movie,
Poachers, right?
It's showing the backstory of how that came to happen, and Cuba Gooding Jr. is
my
the
God.
psychiatrist
Yes!
who's supposed to,
That movie was on TV a lot
Yeah.
when I was a kid. And
Such
so
a great movie.
I would see some of it, or most of it.
When I was at
Be like,
Hancock
"Whoa."
in film class at Hancock, I did a whole paper on that movie, and most people in the class had never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a
But
good one. Yeah.
The acting is great. I mean, even like
Cuba Gooding Jr. is
as-
great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's really good.
But even like some of the inmates that were in the jail, I mean, guys you've probably never seen anything else. They have a little tiny part. They were so convincing as this character. I was always like, did they get real inmates to play some of these guys? Which they could have, I guess. But yeah,
Some
such a great
actors are,
movie.
Like, yeah, and that's the thing. It's funny. Like but there's a part of me that is annoyed. Like sometimes by actors, like
Okay.
if you watch enough like interviews, because I'm obsessed, and so
Yeah.
I'll watch like some of them. It's like, all right, calm down. You're playing pretend, you know what I
Right.
mean? But like one of my favorites is like Jason Alexander, who
Oh,
plays
yeah.
George
Yeah, he's
in
great.
Seinfeld,
Uh-huh.
and like he was a Broadway stage actor,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like the serious actor they wanted to bring in to do Seinfeld.
Right.
And like the big joke in Seinfeld is Jerry can't act like for
Yeah, yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And so he can't act that well.
Yeah.
But like, and then you hear like these stories about Jason Alexander and how he, you know, how he did not like working with the woman who plays Susan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
Okay.
actress who plays Susan, his wife, and he just like wasn't vibing with her, but he was just like kind of like, he sounds like a jerk, and even he admits like, I was a jerk, I was
Yeah.
being an a-hole. Like,
Right.
But it's also like, well, when you take that art when you take your art seriously, you don't even though it is just playing pretend.
Yeah.
But then when you see the outcome of great acting,
Oh, yeah.
truly great acting,
Sure.
but it's not just acting. You gotta like, it's great casting.
Yeah.
It's great, camera
Yeah.
work. It's great lighting.
Yeah.
It's great costume. Like,
Sure.
there's something that can be done that has to be done at every level in that industry to make
Yeah.
something that's like really special. It doesn't
Well,
just feel like
Yeah, imagine that show without George Costanza.
it's
Right, like he's such a crucial. I mean, he's
amazing.
he's a part of almost all of the other dialogue.
He's
Even the
Larry
things
David.
Jerry's
Yeah.
saying and this
Yeah.
and that. It's all connected around some crisis
Yeah.
that George is having or something, you know.
Yeah.
And he's so funny about it
he's Larry David
because
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
serious,
Yeah.
but in a comical way. But like you don't
Yeah.
see him laughing and smiling a lot. But he's just so like he's so intense about it. Everything hits him so hard. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Can you see this, Jerry?
Yeah.
Did you
We're
see
living
this?
in a society. That's one of my favorite. I won't quote that a lot. One of my earliest memories of like, I'm even younger than Weird Joe reading Silence of the Lambs. I'm like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And what year did Seinfeld end?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I could date it perfectly. So I was born in 89. Whatever year Seinfeld ends, Seinfeld was very like, my parents watched it every week when it came out.
It had to be mid-90s, right?
It was. It was probably 96.
I think it started in the late 80s, didn't it?
Might have been, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was the number one show, and then they decided to end it.
Right.
And that was like very controversial. Why, you're not just going to ride this gravy train to the end until it sucks? You know, what's wrong with
But you heard his response to that, which I thought was great.
What was that?
Well, didn't he say something like, I didn't want it to be like some of these other shows that just kept going when they sucked.
Yes.
Like I'm sure I'm paraphrasing his words. Those weren't exact words, but he was like, no, I want to end it to where it still is the number one show in America, right?
That's one thing that the streaming market has like given. Like they do not want to pay for a show forever. That's not it doesn't. The contract stuff doesn't work for them. They're not big networks. So they want a show to end. But I like that because I would like a show to end. I would like it to have an arc. I would like it to show me some respect and not just you know,
not like this show.
Yeah, Stranger Things. You're wearing a Stranger Things shirt.
I was very disappointed
at the end, but
squeeze.
Just you're squeezing a lemon rind at that point, and it's just like I'm past it.
Right.
But there are a lot of great shows. Like House ended. Like a lot of shows that will just
that's been on my list.
They have an ending, and you're like that. Yeah, they did it.
Especially when they know how long they're going to go, and like, okay, we have a 4-season show.
Yeah.
I mean, provided the network doesn't say nope, you're done after 3. Then you're like, oh crap, it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
but as long as they know that and they give them the time to do it, that's why I like a lot of these. They're almost kind of like mini-series now. They put on these things.
It's
like
the return of the mini-series.
Right, exactly.
The BBC understood that. Like, that's a good way. Like, we're always hearing about, it's prestige television. It started with The Sopranos. It started with this. Like, the BBC was making Jane Austen novels as mini-series to give them, so not just reducing it down to an hour and a half. Not like I don't like that, when it's done well, but like...
But it's not done well very often. That's the problem.
Like having multiple episodes, that's a great way to tell a book
because it gives you more time. A perfect example of this is I don't know if you read the series of Unfortunate Events series.
No, let me stick it.
Love those books. I read them to both sets. I say both sets. My kids have a gap in between, right?
Yeah.
So the older two I read through with them, then I read them through with the younger two, and they're so
fun.
good.
Yeah.
And then they did the first movie that came out where Jim Carrey played Count Olaf.
Very weird.
And not well, but I get it because they tried to slam the first 3 books into an hour and a half movie.
Oh, come on.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
But then they came out with the Netflix show where Neil Patrick Harris plays Count Olaf.
Okay.
And every 2 episodes was 1 book.
There you go.
So you got like 4 hours for 1 book.
For 1 book. There
Dude, it was
and when it's a
great.
kid's book, 2 episodes make sense.
It was
It's a
perfect.
young book for young.
It was fantastic.
That's the thing. HBO's about. I think they're getting ready to redo Harry Potter as a mini series.
Right.
Like each season will be.
Which I'm kind of torn on that because I think the movies are good already. I liked all the movies, but maybe they can expand more because the books were there's more in the books than the movies, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. But also like, like they got to the last movie and they had to do 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
They got to the last book and they had to do 2 movies.
That might just be because they were kind of like, let's milk this a little longer.
There is that, but it was also like go line those books up and they're thicker and thicker each.
That's true.
Each and every
That's
time.
true. The Deathly Hallows is bigger than any of them, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm wondering how that show's going to do.
Who knows? I feel like people are already upset about it, so it's one of those things where you're already going into it with a big base of people that are already not wanting you to do it.
Yeah,
which is dumb. At least watch it before you judge it. Don't judge it ahead of time.
There are a lot of people I can see dealing with their complicated feelings about growing up with it. And
exactly.
Then, some of the political stances that the author has taken.
Yes.
And then also just, what's the word I'm looking for? That they are, they're as adults, they're reappraising some of the themes.
Yes.
In the books.
Right.
Like, what? The Goblin Bankers? Like, what is that about? Or like the whole side plot where Hermione tries to free the enslaved race of creatures.
Which is hardly in the movie.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that
in the book.
Yeah, there's a reason why. Yeah. Oh, you mean the young intellectual who's kind of emblematic of like, she's the more liberal-minded one, and oh, okay, you want to free the slaves we have?
Yeah.
Stupid lib, shut up. They like it. Don't you know they like it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there are things that people are, or there's a famous tweet that's like, J.K. Rowling naming a white character, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And it's like her naming an Asian character, Cho Chang. You know? It's like, oh.
I think I'm more impressed right now that you actually knew Albus Dumbledore's full name.
I know.
Just
Yeah,
off
I
the
grew
top
up
of
with
the
that,
head.
dude. I literally, every year a Harry Potter book came out, I was the same age as Harry Potter.
Oh,
so
dude.
yeah.
So you're waiting for your letter to come to invite you to Hogwarts, you know?
I guess. But the mundane is reminds you that it exists brutally every day.
Yeah.
Back pain or gray hairs or whatever else. But no, it was fun. I mean, imagination, like those are very human things. Like that's, you know, that ties into the spiritual and everything else. But you know, Gandalf is my savior. That's how I see it.
Okay, all right.
When I go through life, I go, what would Gandalf do in this situation?
Yeah.
He'd smoke a pipe and no, just kidding.
Well, he probably would.
He'd eat a bit till he'd eat a bunch. Like that. That's a funny thing about Gandalf in the books is dude packs it in. Dude
really?
He eats and he can party. He likes to party.
Yeah.
Gandalf likes to have a good time.
He's not the traditional Merlin-esque.
Yeah, but he didn't have the same body composition as me. I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It didn't work out for me.
Well, don't we all really...
He's always walking. He's walking everywhere.
I try not to hate anybody, but deep down we all kind of hate those people that eat whatever they want and stay skinny, right? I mean, that's kind of like...
well, you know.
It's like,
why? I'm not going to...
Why?
You know, I know people, I'm not going to judge them.
Yeah.
You know,
no, good for them.
For whatever reason.
Why isn't my metabolism like that?
I can grow a beard. I have friends who can't grow a beard, or they're ashamed of the beard that they grow.
Yeah. Or just it's patchy in spots, so they just don't do it.
We all get the genes with that. And
real quick, still on TV. This is fun. This is fun.
I thought we were supposed to talk about music.
We are. I'm getting to music. I have a couple bands I'm going to ask you about because it made me think of it. But first, did you watch Lost when it was out? Or you lost it?
I did watch some of it. And I was like,
okay.
I don't like it.
Because that was a perfect example of kind of what you were talking about of the ending maybe not being everybody's favorite, but the rest of the show being good.
Yeah, yes.
But a lot of people were so mad about the ending of Lost that they just, that show sucks.
Yeah.
The show doesn't suck. You just didn't like the ending.
If you flub the ending, you will ruin the rest of it for people, and that makes me sad because you know.
But I didn't hate the ending. I didn't mind the ending at all.
Yeah.
But I think a big part is because I actually understood the ending.
That was the same with the ending of The Sopranos.
Really?
Have you seen it?
I've seen the first 2-3 episodes.
Okay, so The Sopranos is a masterpiece unto itself, but the ending made a lot of people mad, and it's like, don't you get it?
Yeah.
Don't you get it? That's the point. You missed the point. And a lot of people will just miss the point.
Does that bother you? That bothers me bad when people do that. Of all the things that should upset me, that's one of those ones I'm like, no, you have to understand. Let me at least explain the ending to you. If you understand the ending and then you hate it, I'm fine with that. But if you hate it because you don't understand the ending, that's what makes me mad. Because you're like, no, that's not even right.
Some people. Have you ever seen Starship Troopers? Paul Verhoeven.
Oh no, but we talked about it last time. I know it's another one of those movies that everybody watched when it came out.
Came out in '99, and it's a huge critique of fascism and a militaristic fascist society. Okay, and like there were moments in that film where as a young person, I was like, whoa. Yeah. You know, like it was supposedly over everybody's head what that movie was about. Right. But as a young person, some parts seem heavy-handed. There's a moment where there are all these young recruits. They're about to leave for training. Yeah. And, you know, the guy at the desk is like, where are you shipping off to? And, you know, one of them's like, oh, I'm in the Air Force. And the other's like, I'm in intelligence. And then the main character goes, mobile infantry, sir. And he goes, mobile infantry. And he reaches out with his hand to shake his hand. And it's a bionic hand because his arm was severed. Right. And he shakes his hand. He goes, made me the man I am today. Oh, wow. And then he pushes away from his desk and reveals both his legs are gone. So for me as a youngster, I was like, whoa, mobile infantry made me the man I am today. Yeah. Like that was like, I got it. Yeah. But then there were kids right next to me who saw it and were like, good. Yeah. And they like went and joined, you know, they might have joined up to, you know, go fight in the global war on terror.
Well, I was just going to say, you probably heard this all your whole life, really, but you are a pretty unique mind. You understand that, right? Like you're seeing things that most people wouldn't see. Especially at such a young age. Like, you're already doing that at that age.
Well,
like most kids your age were like you said, shooting them guns, blood, guts, cool.
Well, I liked all that too.
Yeah,
you think I wasn't intrigued by that too?
That's probably what brought you to see the movie. But the fact that
Bugs in space,
yes.
like everybody wanted to see it, but moments like that where I was like, whoa, that's saying something,
right?
You know what I mean? And there are lots of people who just don't see those things, or they don't.
That's my point.
They don't look past the surface, and I've always just been that kind of person. I don't know if I'm that unique, man. Like,
I think so.
The algorithm knows like things I want and things I want to do.
Yeah,
I shop at Costco. I'm a Kirkland man. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Like there are things about me that are basic.
Yeah,
and I don't think I'm that special, but I think about things.
Yeah.
I'm inquisitive.
Which makes you unique in some ways, whether you like that or not. A lot of people like just to float through life and not think about nothing.
Yeah, man.
Right? Well, you know the deal.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure you come across people like that.
Well,
all the time.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, what did George Carlin say? Like, I love a person. Everyone I meet, like, there's a little bit of, the universe in their eyes, or there's that spark of life in them. He goes, but people, but the people, and it's just like, there's all these incentives in our society and our world to discount or depersonalize or dehumanize each other, whether it's the unhoused person who you walk by, or step over on your way to work, or whether it's the person you've convinced yourself, the undocumented, the illegals who you think shouldn't belong here for whatever reason, or, the people who don't believe what you believe or think the way you do.
Yeah.
That's like what I struggle with. Is I've always been a pacifist. I've always been very nonviolent.
Yeah.
But now we have a uber violent political coalition, and that's very much what fascism represents, is like imposing hierarchy through violence. And so I struggle with what's the because at the end of the day, aren't a lot of these people just human beings who need a frickin' hug? There was a guy in Santa Barbara a night or two ago who was passing by a protest, and he was obviously drunk, but he started screaming at them, and he's saying he's a veteran, and he was screaming at these people, and then like somebody just walked up and gave him a hug, and then other people gave him a hug, and then it like diffused the situation, so I do believe in that. But
hey man, if that's all it takes, that's easy.
Yeah, but you can't.
I wish that was all it took for everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, if that guy had military fatigues and a gun and pepper balls and pepper spray and a whole other team of guys with him in the same, a hug wouldn't have done jack for that situation.
That'd be kind of scary to go up and try to give him one.
Yeah, well, I mean, the hippies in the 60s, they would put flowers in the rifles of...
Yeah. Some iconic photos of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it didn't stop them from murdering kids at Kent State, did it? You know, so
that's a great Neil Young song.
Yeah, and so that Woody Guthrie, we were talking about Woody.
Yeah, let's get back to Woody Guthrie.
He's got that song.
Yeah.
All You Fascists Bound to Lose. You ever heard that one?
I think I have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I
bought a bunch of Woody Guthrie stuff.
Yeah, he's got a stanza in there. People of every color marching side by side, marching across the field where 1 million fascists died. And so that's like, whoa, is that, at some point you have to like, I respect humanity. I think everybody has humanity. I'm a humanist. I'm a secular humanist. Right. But when somebody's stated goal is to eradicate people, like, well, maybe we can't be tolerant to that. Yeah. Maybe intolerance to that type of intolerance is what's necessary.
There's a limit, right? There's a point where you have to say, no, I'm really not okay with that, and I'm not going to let that go. But
the idea of turning the other cheek,
right?
What if they just blew your cheek off with a bullet? It's just.
Which has happened, right?
It's dire times, yeah. I do think we always hear all this stuff about the crisis of masculinity and the male loneliness epidemic, and I don't think Americans want to sit with how we socialize ourselves, how we socialize our sons, how we socialize men. And like whether it's those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, or whatever else. Like, I don't know if you've paid attention to the Facebook or social media presence of the Department of Homeland Security lately.
No,
you haven't. Yeah,
I'm not on Facebook a whole lot.
They're posting like open neo-Nazi and like KKK rhetoric. They posted the lyrics of a KKK song.
So
this is the Department of Homeland Security.
Like Christine
ICPB, DHS,
Okay.
different agencies. They're posting like Western Man Stand Up or American Man Stand Up, which is a reference to Western Man Stand Up. They've posted the 14 words, which is like a white supremacist slogan. Like, we must protect our, for, I don't know the slogan because I'm not a white supremacist. So,
oh, you're not?
No, I'm
thought
not.
You were.
I'm really not. Yeah, very funny. No, I'm not. And this is like, the FBI gave a report like more than a decade or two ago now where they said, we have an issue in this country with white supremacists infiltrating law enforcement agencies. Federal level, state level, local level. Nothing was done about that. Nothing. And, and under this government, they were trying to declassify certain symbols as hate symbols. If you try to enter the military and you have a tattoo of a swastika or a noose, those were hate symbols. And this regime, as I'll call it, was trying to demote that. That's not a hate symbol. That's just maybe a little troublesome. That's all we're going to say. Yeah. So, when, especially when we have an economy that disempowers people each and every day, the job prospects are worse than they've ever been. When you have an economy that disempowers people and, you give very little prospects to young men and women, for that matter, in the job market. Like what are young people being told to do now? Like, get on a webcam and do whatever you can to make money, or gamble.
Yeah,
you just see endless ads for gambling. We have a problem with like suicide in this country. Young men commit suicide, and shouldn't we do something about that?
Yeah.
Well, we need to make sure guns are available, and let's gamble. Let's all have gambling all the time. Like, gambling's come back in a huge way for some reason.
Yeah. Do you think that that's because of a lack of jobs that they can't get, or because they're looking more for the quick buck? Because a lot of girls had great jobs. I know you mentioned the internet. I'm sure like OnlyFans, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of young women who had good paying jobs, but they realized I can make millions by just simply taking my clothes off on the internet.
Not all of them.
I mean, but the perspective is there for them. That's what they're going for. Otherwise, they wouldn't give up their 9 to 5, where they're making decent money, to say, I could just do this a couple hours. Are they making decent money at their 9 to 5?
Some of them are. They though? Hardly. Like, we might be exceptions because we know where we're working, and there's a benefits package. But what I'm saying is, there's like I hired when I was at the newspaper. I hired a girl right out of J school. She came from Montana, wanted to work in California. And I go, hey, can you go down to the city council meeting and report on there's a pension crisis? And she goes, what's a pension? So they aren't even teaching like younger people about the benefits that exist or used to exist, or like the job prospects are so awful. And like everybody has multiple jobs. They side gigs, we call them. Nowhere in the country can you afford a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment on minimum wage, and these are all, I talked about, the layer cake of systemic failures we have last time I was here, and like, it's, like all the only like prosperity that seems to exist in America is anymore is like the same type of lottery, make it big. The young person Romeo who just got a check cut for a couple $1 million on TikTok because she made a Dr. Pepper jingle. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
She's great. She's this.
What's her name?
Their name is Romeo.
Romeo.
They're actually non-binary.
Gotcha.
So, but it's it's young. This young black person with a big old gap in their teeth and glasses, and they're just sitting in their room and on their bed, and they go, I got a new jingle for Dr. Pepper. It goes like this: Dr. Pepper, baby, it's good and nice, doo-doo-doo. And if you know anything about jingle writing, that's a perfect jingle.
Okay.
It has the name, it gives the vibe, and then they added a little doo-doo-doo at the end, a little hook. So that's you are a crafts person, like wonderful. Romeo is their name.
And millions of dollars.
It went viral. They posted this on December 22nd. It went mega viral across TikTok. Dudes with mixing setups, like take their singing and then put in like instruments and do like an R&B version of it. Guys with nice cameras and green screens and lights set up and spin a Dr. Pepper can around with to like show off like what their jingle would be like. Everybody's flooding their comments, like tens of millions of views in weeks, and they're like, give her money, Dr. Pepper, give them their money, at first it seemed like Dr. Pepper was just like radio silent the whole time. All these other brands are in Romeo's comments, like, do us next. She came up with a great one for Vita Coco that they did. Like they did one for Hyundai, busting out these jingles. And then there was like a big college football playoff a few weeks ago. And premiered Romeo's Dr. Pepper, baby, it's good and nice.
See, now how awesome is that?
That's awesome. That's
how
great.
Old?
In their early 20s.
Okay.
And
imagine that.
Sitting in a house that's on like subsidized housing with popcorn ceiling.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. On the phone. And now next thing you know,
that's great. But now ever since that, there's all these people online. Like TikTok has blown up with. Everybody's got their jingle, like everybody's writing jingles.
I don't have my jingle.
Yeah.
I gotta come up with one.
I kind of tried to come up with one. It was like, I don't drive a Ford because I can't afford not to drive Toyota or something like that, But they wouldn't like me mentioning Ford in there probably. And they went, everybody's doing like jokes, but then the people are like, oh, I'm going to do this too. No, man, you're not. Like that was a viral moment. It's also that Romeo has just the raw talent, and there's a certain charm about Romeo where it's just this young person in their room, making a.
But that's what's so
video.
Amazing about where we are now as opposed to 20, 30 years ago. Like that, something like that. Obviously, we didn't have the means to really do something like that. But like before, even with like music and like bands now, it's like.
Yeah.
You can pretty much self-produce your own stuff, and if you put it on YouTube, you do whatever, and you get the right person to notice and see it.
Yeah.
You can be famous overnight, just like that. Like the folk guy that I'm sure you don't like his message, but what the heck was his name? He came out in Richmond. Richmond. I know you don't like it.
Yeah, that was that was very much. But you ain't heard nothing about him since or before.
Well, it sounds like he didn't want any of that. From what it sounds like.
Well,
but
you got to be careful when you rope your wagon to conservative America, because they will toss you into the trash bin. Any second. They hated Nicki Minaj each and every day until she hopped on just the other day to join the bandwagon.
I'm still not a fan.
Yeah, and neither are they. Neither are most conservatives.
So I like her better than Cardi B, though.
I love Cardi B.
Team
Cardi all the way, dude.
Gosh.
Team Cardi. She's fantastic.
She's terrible.
She's wonderful. Do
you enjoy rap?
She's an American
music?
hero. Yeah, I enjoy all music.
Really?
I love Doja Cat. I love Cardi B.
Doja Cat is good.
The Migos. I love. I don't spend enough time with it, but I listen to a lot of different.
Maybe it's just a personal thing with Cardi. I don't mean like personal like her, but
Cardi threw in for
Cardi
threw in for Bernie Sanders. Okay.
Yeah, but that.
What other celebrity was like? What other celebrity is like? Yeah, raise my taxes.
Yeah, but that's
because we need public goods governance.
Yeah, but that's like that's a differentiation between. I'm just saying I don't like her music.
I mean,
right?
Bodak
is that why you like her?
I loved her music. I loved her music before she threw down for Bernie. To me, that just proves she's a real one.
That's icing on the cake.
She's a real one. Yeah, she's authentically American. She is the rag to riches. This is the weird thing about America. And the point I was making about Romeo is like we still have our rags to riches.
Yeah.
things, but like that's very much a selection bias of you're seeing someone who worked and worked and worked and fought to get to that level of prestige and fame and wealth, like Cardi B,
Sure.
or now this young person's life Romeo's life has been transformed.
I bet.
And of course, but at the end of the day, she got licensed one song, one little piece of intellectual property to a massive corporation that's slinging sugar water. Like that's,
sure.
It's nothing that special. Like I don't want to be, pop anybody's balloon. I am a fan, and
It's nothing that special, but I wish I could
appreciate
do
the
it.
talent. I appreciate their talent, Romeo's talent. But like, there are how many thousands of people who are pressing the aluminum cans and mixing up the vats of prunes and sugar water and high fructose corn syrup and all the other things that go home with back pain, and their all the meat packing plants, or people's fingernails are falling off and all. You know what I mean? Like,
well, we could probably find agreement there, where I think that kind of the Hollywood actors, actresses, singers, that bands, that kind of stuff that make it big in the kind of the music world or in the Hollywood world, that are making billions of dollars or multi-millions of dollars. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid, because obviously they're due, but I don't like the fact that they make so much money while someone like you just mentioned, who's busting their butts 50, 60 hours a week, is just barely getting by.
Yeah.
Right? That seems like, or the sports figures, right? The guys that are playing sports and making all this money, or...
I just wish we would recognize, like, have a little more class solidarity with everybody else. Because, like, every movie star is surrounded by makeup artists and hair people and the gaffers who are lugging in all the heavy equipment and doing the lighting and
people you never see.
You never see who are in danger. They have unions for a reason. You know what I mean? Because they have to organize. And even like the Screen Actors Guild, like they're in trouble or in dire straits. They're fighting against. They just want to use AI to. They have we have an AI actress. You mean you've stolen the likeness of all the young starlets and thrown them in a digital blender and made this weird, facsimile? That's, there's nothing, special about that. But again, this is a way, AI has already led to tons of freelance graphic designers and sound designers and just people who do creative work, who I can make a living on my own, working from home, doing freelance work. Well, okay, now everybody's like, I can have an AI touch up my photo. I can have an AI.
It's scary, dude.
Do this. Yeah, it's a way that we've allowed the wealth class, the oligarchs, the tech lords in Silicon Valley to steal our labor from us. Yeah, just because they set up some demonic server farm somewhere that's sucking up water and polluting the local neighborhoods around it. Just because they do that, they think they can steal intellectual property. They think they can steal people's expertise and their skill. I mean, when I started at Cal Poly in my history studies, we were told explicitly, if you use ChatGPT at all, it will be considered academic dishonesty, and that's cheating. Yes. Okay. You were here. I did a history degree. That the whole thing is writing papers. Right. It's reading a bunch and then writing papers. Right. By the time I graduated with my master's last year, they had installed CSU GPT into the dashboard of our online thing. Use it.
That's gnarly.
So, dudes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So this is very much being. Just like Bill Gates with his billions and billions of dollars forced his operating system on all of us by, we want to help the schools. Do you, Bill Gates? You want to help
for free? Of course.
You want to help the schools
help them for free.
Yeah, and
he didn't want anything back.
Of course not. He just wanted to force all of us to use his operating system, which. Back in my day, you could buy Word and it would work on your computer. You didn't need to update it. You had the program. You use it as long as you had it. You didn't need to update your operating system, and everything wouldn't work anymore.
You need the newest Windows.
Every time they do it, and then you got to update this and you got to update that. Yeah. And so my point about the young lady or the young person on TikTok or women like Cardi B or you think of men who've become famous, rocketing into fame off of some social media thing is we have this selection bias where I could be the rich and famous person, where most of us that's never going to happen. We're all we all have to survive in this economy. And young men now are inundated with more imagery and propaganda. There's now a huge problem with young men taking testosterone, like taking human growth hormone, steroids. The young guys who are into bodybuilding and stuff, they have literally, some of these guys are Nazis, like they're all hanging out with Nazis like Nick Fuentes and whatnot, and these bodybuilder influencer guys, with the manosphere or whatever, and this type of attitude is just and fascism itself, I believe, is this type of self-destructive, self-immolating, it's always going to give you the opposite of what it's saying it does. It's because it's based on so much lies and deceit. There's a perfect metaphor to me. When I learned about this, I was like, whoa, that's a metaphor. The Inuit people, the indigenous people in Antarctica, or not Antarctica, sorry, the Arctic, they have a hunting method. And what they do is they take a knife and they cover it with blood or whale blubber, and they stick it in some snow so it freezes whale blubber around the knife, and then make sure the blade's nice and sharp. And then they go out and they stick it into the ground,
like knife.
Blade up, handle into the snow, and they make sure it's nice and firm and
that'd be hard to do.
Tight in there
in your own hand, you would think. Trying to pound that into the snow without.
Well, they they're ingenuity. They have a lot of ingenuity. And so what happens? A wolf comes along, and this is appropriate because what do these guys like to call themselves? Alphas, right? Alpha. They forget that whole term came from studying wolves in captivity. It's not actually a real thing that exists in the wild. But anyway, a wolf comes along and finds this blade soaked in blubber. And what does it do? There's food here. And it starts licking it. And what happens? Eventually it hits the blade with its tongue. Except it's too cold out for it to register it as an ouch. And it happens so gradually that the ouch never happens. Then what happens? The wolf cuts its tongue, and it goes to lick the blade, and it's tasting its own blood, and it believes it's being fed and being nourished by its own blood, and it continues to lick the blade until it injures its tongue severely, and that's how the Inuit hunt wolves. It's because they're able to convince the wolf to kill itself.
So what, the wolf just eventually bleeds out and dies?
Yes, exactly. So to me, that's a perfect metaphor for fascism, for hypermasculinity, for this violent, the violent fantasies that men are fed in media, in, join up, like the DHS is putting out, but like very militaristic, hyper-nationalistic stuff. How many movies do we have to watch, about what our veterans are actually like when they come home? What this actually does to them, what going to war actually does to them. I have my grandfather fought in World War II. I'm glad he did. It was a noble thing to do. It was still a brutal war. There was nothing noble about taking other people's lives. He ended his life in the 60s.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
So that's the ramifications of this. It's not we glorify violence in our culture, and it's self-destructive, right? Every generation has to have a new imperial conquest. And whether it's done in reaction to a real attack like 9/11 or a fake one like the Gulf of Tonkin that never happened. Every generation has some new gotta go fight in the name of the empire, and they come back more twisted and destroyed by it. And that turns inward. The guy who shot Renee Good in the face was an Iraq War veteran. Timothy McVeigh, who blew up the Oklahoma City, was a Gulf War veteran who committed and saw atrocities that our military.
So you think there was some level of mental illness with those two because of what they've been through, like a PTSD kind of thing?
I'm not sure you call that mental illness or what. I'm no therapist, but like they were taught and conditioned for violence, and you see the way that Customs and Border Patrol, who murdered Alex Pretti, or ICE or whatever, they are treating the American people like an insurgency.
Yeah.
They're occupying cities. They're rolling through with military tactics. Trump deployed the military to L.A. He deployed not the National Guard, the Marines, the military. There's it's unreal. They arrested journalists today. We've had military deployed in the country. The whole country has become militarized by federal, they're building more camps. We're literally putting people, concentrating them in camps based on the way they look or what they're speaking. The right-wing Supreme Court has said it's okay to racially profile people. That's suspicion enough.
That's on my list to your profile.
Yeah.
We'll get to that too.
So, these are the type of things.
It's funny, there's a lot of stuff that I'm remembering now that we kind of started talking about but never went.
But do you think it's a coincidence that, like, the rest of the world is looking at America doing this to itself? Mm-hmm. And the dollar is plummeting now? The value of the dollar is going down. Mm-hmm. We're losing jobs. Like, all of this mass deportation hasn't created more jobs, just the opposite for some reason. Also, all this trade war stuff, talking about invading our neighbors, talking about just annexing, that was a hallmark of fascism and Nazism, Liebestrom, like, this is we need to take more land. We're going to annex Austria. We're going to annex Poland. Yeah. Greenland belongs to us all of a sudden. Yeah. Like this, so... This is very self-destructive stuff. This type of to me it's very because fascism is very typified by ultranationalism, hypermasculine, palingenetic, where you believe there was you prop up a fake history that you believe we have to restore, and that just multiculturalism or history as just understanding the history of America and, the unsavory parts of it, genocide, slavery, what have you. Like, those are lies, in fact. And, the lost cause myth, the Civil War was just about states' rights and, trying to whitewash over that kind of stuff.
You think a lot of people believe that?
Yes.
You think a lot of
never
people
encountered people?
No, I'm not saying I haven't, but it seems like the vast majority would say, no, the Civil War did have a lot to do with, obviously, a big, if not the main point of it.
But that's why you have to contend with the people who are lying to you.
Well, sure.
And the propaganda.
But I guess the way I look at it, there's always going to be people lying on both sides of everything. But what I look at is how many people are believing that. Yeah. That's when it becomes scary. If you have if it's 80% of the country is believing some certain lie, then it's kind of like, oh crap, that's not good.
Well, yeah.
But if it's just some
there's a serious cross section of the population that thinks the 2020 election was stolen, that slavery wasn't that bad, man. Why are we talking about this?
But can you put in your opinion though? Can you put a percentage on? I mean, I know you don't know for sure, but just in your opinion, what percentage of Americans do you think believe those two things you just said?
I mean, it might be around 30%. Okay. To me, it's like...
You think 30% of Americans
could be.
think slavery wasn't that bad?
I don't know. Or that there are at least 30% that think historians are lying to them. Mm-hmm. They think the majority of journalists are lying to them. They think the majority of medical professionals are lying to them.
Well, I think a lot of us think everybody's lying to us at this point. And there's a reason for that.
But that's a thought-terminating cliche right there. Okay. Everybody's lying to you. Really? Is the expert on stem cell therapy or cancer research lying to you.
Well, how do you know?
The peer-reviewed research, because they're doing peer-reviewed research.
Okay.
And if you actually get involved and educate yourself in the medical field, you can review and you can do your own...
Bingo!
You can do your
Yes.
own repeatable experimentation.
But the sad thing is most people aren't doing that.
Yeah, because they're... Yeah,
That's
but
the problem.
I'm a trained in history.
Right.
Historians cite their sources, so you can go and
can look 'em in.
you
Yeah.
can review.
Right.
Is that what they said it said?
Yes.
And
that's what I do, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
But it's sad that I feel like guys like me and you are a minority when it comes to stuff like that.
I'm not sure. Because I do think, like, you know, you got to be honest about what's going on in this country. And people call me a liar for things that I've said that are absolutely true. You can see it with your own eyes.
But now, can't you just show evidence?
Yeah, but that doesn't even matter to people.
So what do they say to the evidence?
Whatever,
right.
you're a stupid liberal and you're too far gone, and liberalism is a mental disorder.
Right.
You have Trump derangement syndrome.
But see, the problem though is happening on both sides with that.
Is it though?
Yes.
Is it?
Because what I'm saying is, like, you could have somebody on the right that says this and says, oh, here's evidence of this, here's video of this, here's factual this, and someone on the left say, no, that you're lying, that's doctored, that's this. In the same way, someone on the left will say, oh, look at all this, and someone on the right will say, no, that's lying, that's doctored, that's this. So then a lot of us who, like me, I'm kind of like, okay, but like there's a truth in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It exists. Something really did happen or not happen, or like it's there. It's so hard to find.
By and large, the liberal left holds itself to a much higher standard of truth than the right. The right openly lies. They were sharing.
But you see what I'm saying, right?
No, it's not on both sides.
I could have a person
really
on the right sitting across from me right now, and they would say the exact same phrase
about
you just
what?
said.
Yeah, but so Alex Pretti is murdered by the CPB. There were multiple AI images shared by the right of him holding the gun and pointing it at them, which he never did. All of the video that was recorded in the moment, you have multiple angles, you can line them all up. He never did that. So they created an AI image. I was arguing with conservatives I know about Renee Good. They would show her, all the video, there, at least the most well-known angle, shows her tires angled away to the right as she tried to pull away from the ICE agent who walked in front of her car, which is not their policy. But it showed her tires pointed to the right. I was arguing with conservatives I know in real life who shared an image from up above the car that nobody was filming, that did not exist. It was an AI created image, and they said this proves that she was driving at him. Donald Trump said just after she was shot in the face that she dragged the ICE agent, that she hit him and dragged him. And that's a miracle he's alive. But anybody with at least one functioning eyeball can see that did not happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
So did Joe Biden say...
Well, hold
on. We're talking about the left versus the right. Did Joe Biden say that Ashley Babbitt had an AK-47 and a bomb? No. Did any Democrat... Like, this is the thing. Like, both sides, we are not, like... There was like hundreds of people fired after Charlie Kirk was assassinated for saying the wrong thing online about it. There wasn't a single Democratic politician who made a joke, said it didn't happen, said, did conspiracy theories. Whereas Ilhan Omar was attacked, Representative Omar from Minnesota was attacked by a guy.
Something, what was it?
Something in a syringe, don't know. Okay. Trump said she did it herself. She probably did it herself. I looked at the Fox News posts and the New York Post posts, and majority of comments were, she did it herself. This is an inside job. She did it herself. They planned this. Staged. We are not dealing with the same level of flagrant lies and misinformation and disinformation. Okay? And this is why we play a dangerous game when we politicize science. There's measles outbreaks all across the country now, right? This is a disease we thought we'd eradicated 20 years ago. And I know people who are you would consider left leaning who are kind of vax skeptical or anti-vax.
Sure.
But trying to vilify historians, this is all woke nonsense. Slavery wasn't that bad. Like you deny atrocities. Why? Because part of you thinks they were justified, or you want to repeat history. Like that, this is like the dire consequences, or the dire.
I mean, again, like I don't think there's that many people that would say those words.
You're wrong.
Slavery wasn't that bad.
You're wrong. You're wrong about that. You're. I'm not going to say you're lying, but you're lying to yourself, because there are plenty of people who believe that, and I've come across them. I
have too.
Yeah,
but they seem definitely like the minority to me.
Well, they might be.
Like, I feel like so I asked you for a percentage a minute ago. Like, I feel like if I were to poll America right now and say, and it's totally anonymous, like you don't have to give your name or nothing, so everybody's honest.
Yeah.
How many of you think that slavery, quote unquote, wasn't that bad? My percentage, I'm thinking like maybe 2% of the country would say something like that. And to me, that's a high number.
That's incorrect. Like, if there has been any polling done on this type of thing, that's you're being very charitable.
Okay.
And this is the thing. This is like, right now the right wing is trying to, since Charlie Kirk was murdered, a bunch of the people in the right wing media sphere have kind of gone to war with each other.
Yeah.
Candace Owens has gone full conspiracy. Which this is like what the right has cultivated for quite a while, is this conspiracy craziness. Alex Jones.
I can't listen to Candace as much as I used to now, just because of that kind of stuff.
Well, how she talks about Jewish people. That's a big division on the right now.
Yeah, that's not why I can't.
Tucker Carlson. Oh, okay.
It's more because I'm not a conspiracy guy at all, as you know. I told you that before. So when people kind of go down that road and not really when the evidence, quote unquote, is given, is more like kind of not real. It's just kind of like, and I had a feeling this, and I thought
there are a lot of people who think that way. So
I know.
There's a guy named Robert Altemeyer. He's a psychologist, sociologist. Oh, sorry. And he wrote a book called The Authoritarians, and this is based off of years and years and years of psychological surveys that he did with his students. And he basically found that around a third, like a significant, 25 to 30% of people, there is a streak of it's almost like a psychological profile. And he branded them right-wing authoritarians. And these people have a very high amount of they have a high amount of what's the word, compartmentalization. They are they're super skeptical, hyper skeptical, irrationally so, of sources that they have decided they can't agree with or won't agree with, and they make nothing but exceptions for the people they do agree with. So, medical researchers, historians, journalists, all liars. But, the person who, is reaffirming the things I believe and I feel, not a liar, can't be a liar.
Right.
Even if caught in lie after lie after lie, well, there's a good reason for it. In fact, they're making allowances for them because they really don't care. They're authoritarians. They want to see vengeance meted out on the people they don't like.
Yeah.
Right? That's what ICE is all about. That's what, I'll never forget the quote from, there was a woman in Florida during Trump's first term who was having her life adversely affected by policy decisions of his administration. And she said, he's hurting the wrong people. He's hurting the wrong people. So there are a significant number of people who, just the whole anti-woke thing that Trump and the American right, I don't even distinguish hardly anymore between the far right and the right anymore, because the ruling coalition, the ruling party, is essentially one and the same. But they are at war with the truth itself. They have found it helpful to them to just completely lie, and their base will believe it. Renee Good ran into that guy and she wanted to kill him, even though she was obviously trying to turn her car away, and said, "I'm not mad at you, dude." Like, that was her last words. "You're fine. I'm not mad at you." Or Alex Pretti never pulled his gun. And the Second Amendment people who thought, January 6th was just a peaceful protest, who they literally have showed up to state houses strapped with guns. They were celebrating Kyle Rittenhouse. Now the rule is you can't bring a gun to a protest if you're a liberal in a liberal state. So that type of, like, people, call these people hypocrites, but it's like, that's, you might as well throw...
Well, and I'm sure you've heard, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm sure you've heard the argument from the other side about that, right?
What's the other side?
Well, they would say that it wasn't so much about bringing the gun to the protest, right? It was that Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't there to like, they would say that Alex Pretti was interfering with ICE's work, right? To where Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't there to... He wasn't really in other words, he wasn't there to...
He was a child soldier, a teenager with a gun.
And I'm not agreeing.
Peacefully observing everything with an automatic weapon. Alex Pretti never unholstered his weapon. All the most you can say is he lightly brushed aside a militarized federale's hands that had just shoved a woman to the ground, just full bore shoved a woman to the ground.
Right.
So, we used to have a First Amendment in this country. You used to be able to protest, and there was nothing there's nothing unpeaceful about filming with your phone. That doesn't deserve you being attacked by the police, even though it seems conservatives just think that's just by and large. If you are filming a protest, you're an unpeaceful protester. They've attacked journalists. During 2020.
So I personally try to take each situation by itself, and I try to look at it and go, okay, here's this, here's that, whatever. And I think you and I probably be in agreement about the Alex Pretti thing at this point. But as far as him getting killed, that's not cool. And especially based on the footage I've seen, based on what is being said and kind of thing, because it looks like the main thing for me with that is that it appears, right, from the video, that he was disarmed before they shot him.
Yeah, he was.
Which to me is like, that's unnecessary.
And he was on the ground, and they continued to empty.
So we might be in
their
agreement
clips
on that.
into the guy.
But are you saying, though, kind of backing up before the killing, are you saying that all he was doing was using his phone? You don't see any other thing he was doing at all?
I mean, the worst you can say for Alex Pretti is he knocked the guy's hands away to help a woman to her feet that had just been shoved to the ground.
Yeah.
There's now footage of him yelling at them, spitting at them, and kicking.
Well, that was a week prior.
A week prior. So to me, doesn't matter. He kicked the taillight out of their car.
Yeah.
And even then, he had his gun on him then, and they didn't shoot him. He didn't draw it.
Right.
He was getting beat on by them then. He didn't draw his weapon.
Well, let me ask you this though: Do you think that, like, everything that we have right now as the public, as far as the video that's been shown, the different commentaries, the evidence being given from different sides, do you think all of that is?
Don't forget, there's massive amounts of disinformation being pumped into it with AI as well.
Sure, but all of that. Everything that we have as the public, whether it's true, false, AI, not AI, whatever, everything we're seeing, do you think that gives us enough information to definitively stand on one side or the other?
My point is, why have we normalized packs of roving, masked federal goons rousting people, profiling people, attacking American citizens?
But see, this is what I mean, though.
No,
this is what I mean.
Well, what do you mean?
Go ahead and finish. I'll tell you what I mean first.
We have normalized. A lot of people on the right want to point out, well, Obama deported more people, and you didn't say anything. No, we were saying that. If you actually paid attention to anyone on the left, we complained about it.
So you were against that also?
Yeah.
So you're against all deportations?
No, I didn't say that.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I didn't say that. But the militarization, I've been against. All of this is a product of the War on Terror and the Patriot Act, where we had the Department of Homeland Security created, and it reordered all of these federal agencies, removed our civil liberties en masse. This is my bigger point here, is that first they're coming for the immigrants, but they're coming for you too. Your rights are absolutely trampled on. Our rights are now directly under threat. Alex Pretti wasn't doing anything that wasn't protected by the Constitution. He was executed by the state for it. Why? Because we have a militarized federal government, multiple agencies that were created out of whole cloth or reordering federal agencies in the fear after 9/11. The NSA is spying on all of us. The thing about ICE is, yes, I'm a journalist. I have lots of sources and lots of places. I hear things. I know people who I know of people, and I hear from people who do work for ICE and have worked for ICE for some time.
Yeah.
And they were doing deployment where they would go and find dangerous criminals, and what they claim they're doing now, like any time that they're just roving around a suburban street looking for anyone with, skin of a certain shade, and
profiling.
And tackling them and breaking their windows and shooting tear gas at any other person who dares to say anything or film. They would do deployments like that, and veterans of the force feel like, what are we doing at this point? Like, why are we losing public trust, and why are we just going after anybody and everybody we see, especially when they keep netting so many American citizens? They've detained and imprisoned more than 100, probably more than 200 now American citizens, and they are. This is a political shock force. They had, this is something that they're not deployed to Texas or Missouri or Mississippi this way. They're being deployed to Minnesota. They're being deployed to California.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're open about it. It's not even a secret. Like, Trump hates these states. They hate the Democrat cities, and they hate us, man. They hate us.
I mean, ICE is in places in red cities. They're there.
Yeah, but they're
You're
not.
just not seeing.
You are not seeing roving bands of militarized CPB ICE, where they are acting like gangsters. Okay. And this is what we're seeing, is this whole administration is gangsterism.
But don't you think
lawless criminal shit?
Sure. But don't you think it has anything to do with the fact that a lot of the blue cities are more likely to, and are, from what you're seeing?
Not necessarily. No. Plenty of red areas have immigrants and undocumented immigrants.
That's not what I said. The blue cities are more likely to be combative, to be going against ICE agents, to be trying to prevent them from what they're trying to do, to where red cities have been more cooperative with it, right? The government of red cities is more cooperative, where you look at some of the things like Jacob Fry has said and Tim Walz has said in Minnesota. Yeah, they're obviously not being cooperative.
Because they shot a woman in the face.
What was before that? They weren't being cooperative before that.
If you don't recognize the stark difference in militarization, that just the difference between how, Obama... Yeah, why did he deport so many more people? Because it was actually much more competent, but it was, he was a competent mass deporter, but he was also denying people at ports of entry. I'm sorry, but we're talking about, both sides are lying. People have claimed that Democrats are letting in massive amounts of illegal immigrants to vote for them. That's a Nazi lie. That's a
speculation, which I'm also against speculation.
Well,
I don't like that kind of stuff.
But we have names for these type of things, like the Great Replacement, right? Where this is a white supremacist lie that anybody who's voting who doesn't look like us is illegitimate. Right. So they want to delegitimize, other people's engagement in our democracy. And
the claim that was being made, from what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong here, was with Biden, where it's kind of cold in here, where Biden was being accused, right, of opening the borders the way his administration did and all that.
But
I know, I'm just saying this is what they
deported massive
claimed.
amounts of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
he deported massive amounts of people. So did Obama.
But there was a huge number coming in too.
But they also,
right?
but this is the thing. Every time that the Trump regime wants to, or Trump officials, if you want to call them that, every time you hear them talk about the number of undocumented people who came over the border, it goes up every time. Every time they say the number of undocumented people in the country, it goes up every time. First it was 10 million, then it was 20 million, then it was 30 million, now it's 40 million. Like, they're like, I'm sorry, but
since Trump's second term, and
there's no consistency. So now we are at net negative migration. People are terrified to even come here. People terrified to vacation here. People are they're denying people at the ports of entry after they scan their phones. You posted the wrong things. You have the wrong memes saved on your phone. What does that sound like? This is the thing. If you want to isolate and look at one issue at a time, you're ignoring this bigger picture of the militarization and the deployment of these shock troops, militarized shock troops to our communities. I'm sorry, but like, don't conservatives preach don't tread on me, and the federal government shouldn't be tyrannical.
Well, I'm not saying to ignore those and not look at those things. I'm just saying that when something happens, like with Renee Good or Alex Pretti, I'm just saying I can't, for me, this is me personally.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. I've kind of learned over the last 5 or 6 years or so that when I'm presented with something in the news that, in my opinion, doesn't matter which side of the news, here's a video. Here's a 30-second video, right?
Yeah.
And here's the story so far. Here's what we know so far, right? And I've learned that for me personally, I don't want to just jump on that and say, oh, this is definitely what's going on. This is what happened. This person's in the wrong. This person's in the right. This guy sucks. Let's uproar. Let's write about it. Because there's been so often where that's happened, and then more comes out later, and you're like, oh, that kind of changes a lot of the story around a little bit, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when Renee Good was killed, now I care about the fact that there is a certain political party in power. They have the Supreme Court, they have the White House, they have all of the Congress, okay? An American citizen is murdered by the state, is killed by the state on her own street. The first thing that political regime told us was an absolute lie.
Right.
Totally untrue. And literally the first bit of information we could get to actually see what happened shows that that's untrue.
Well, that's what I mean.
An American citizen branded a domestic terrorist.
Well, that's what I mean about it. To me, it's on both sides. Even the right there, like Kristi Noem coming out and saying what she said right away is like, you were wrong. That was not right.
Yes, but when, like, I don't think it's both sides, because you just don't see this type of thing. Like, to me, a lot, like, all the Democrats that have been in power in my lifetime have been centrists. They're not radical leftists. They're not, the right wants to call Joe Biden a communist. They want to call Barack Obama a secret medical Muslim and all this other type of crazy unhinged stuff. Yeah. Like, liberals were the Democratic Party power players have been technocrats, very much like, we're the competent managers of the empire and the police state, multiracial imperialism, like, we're gonna make it happen, with competence. Like, that's their brand. That's their brand.
This is this video. That was
I had a thumbs up there.
That was like the Fallout thumbs up.
Yeah, that's very much like, Obama and Biden handed the keys to this, machine, this authoritarian machine, over to Trump, who I believe is an avowed fascist. When they asked Mamdani, was visiting him in the Oval Office, and they said, "You've called the president a fascist. What do you think about that?" As he's standing right, and Trump says, "It's okay, you can tell him. That's fine. Doesn't bother me." So that's where we're at, man. And this is like, fascists have no shame. They lie, but that is part of their whole project.
So you take that Trump quote with Mamdani to mean that he's admitting to being a fascist. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, he doesn't have to. I don't care with the words that come out of his mouth. That's what he It's what his political project does. It has all the hallmarks of it. Yeah. To me, that's just the cherry on top. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, but again, like, there are lots of things that are authoritarian about America and our government. George Carlin called George W. Bush a fascist, and like, you know, there's a photo of a young girl being passed around. A young black girl who was detained by ICE in child detention, and she died from sickle cell. You know, Anne Frank famously died in a work camp, not in a death camp, but because she did not get medical treatment. Okay,
Right.
So this young girl, you know, people are saying ICE kills and this and that. This young girl died in 2023. She was in ICE detention under Biden. So I'm not the type of person to say only one side is guilty. No, but
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, even if I hear that this young girl was in ICE detention, and she died while in ICE detention.
yeah, because they're denying people medical care.
Right. But see, that to me, that's where the kind of the research would begin, right there, right? To see if it's literally this kid, all they need is they need an antibiotic that they have freely right here, and the people are like, no,
Here's
you loser little kid, I hope you die from your
Here's
disease.
something that was recently reported. ICE and CPB in their detention centers, they have now not paid the medical contracting company for months. They have not paid the company that is supposed to come in, the privatized prison industrial complex we have, that's supposed to come in and administer medications to people
Right.
in ICE detention. Okay? That's happening. Like, it's one thing where people are in this massive police state in the net of it, and through neglect and through mismanagement, they die.
Right.
But now they are actively cutting off the poor forms of care that are in there.
Yeah.
Okay?
And what's their reasons? I mean, obviously, I'm not saying justified reason, but what's the reason they're even giving?
Cruelty. I would say cruelty.
That's the reason they're giving?
I mean,
Like, if you went to
the
them and said, hey,
administration is
why
giving-
are you doing this?
I don't care what liars are going to tell me about this. So USAID, foreign aid across the world that the United States cut off, just completely chopped off, entirely, when Elon Musk, who threw up a Nazi salute at the inauguration, came in with Doge and did all this stuff.
And you say that with 100% certainty.
I'm sorry, you telling me I can't believe my own eyes when someone throws up a Zig Heil?
Well,
And he said, I have to believe what he says about it?
no, I feel like that. What's the other one? Did you think the other guy was doing that too? Who was it?
other guy?
Was it King Jeffries, or was it? There was somebody on the left that did, and they showed the side-by-side video of them doing the exact same hand motion.
I mean...
And I'm not saying that's whataboutism. I don't think that's what Elon Musk was doing, personally. That's not, I think that's crazy.
That's only one instance of, there have been multiple times that he has said all kinds of Nazi, and same with the president, saying that immigrants pollute the blood of our country. How many of these things have to stack up? You know, if it there's a reason why I study history, and it's basic pattern recognition. And when you see he vilified journalists, he's vilified immigrants, he's vilified.
You're talking about Musk still?
Trump.
Oh, Trump now.
Yeah, Musk, sure.
Okay.
These are people with tremendous amounts of power, immense amounts of power, because they have immense amounts of money. And they do not feel beholden. Again, this is a guy who tons of evidence piled up against him is a child predator. He's involved with Epstein and child trafficking. And
So that's proven, you think?
I mean,
Or it just shows that he was friends with Epstein at some point.
the love letter, you haven't read his love letter to Jeffrey Epstein on his birthday? You haven't read that? Have you seen it?
Yeah. Doesn't say anything about child trafficking, does it?
He said we are both gentlemen with secrets, or some other type of, I don't know, I don't have a
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's all, you could be right, but that in of itself,
I'm not a conspiracy
you
theorist.
have to go in to get that.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There were women who made the accusation
Sure.
in court. When I was a 13, 14-year-old, I was trafficked by Epstein, and that included Donald Trump.
Right.
Okay? So that's not out there wacky conspiracy theory.
I didn't
Some
say
of
it's
these
conspiracy theory. I'm just saying it's not hard evidence. That would not hold up in a court of law.
Okay,
saying
sure, but
happened.
again, we don't know because the majority of these files they were legally supposed to release. They have not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So again, these are like compounding lies and compounding lies. Me as someone on the left, I do believe in truth and accuracy and verification and all these things, but it's incumbent upon me to give the benefit of the doubt. So was that really fascist when the Department of Homeland Security posted an obvious repost of like Nazi-era propaganda? Was it really fascist when Stephen Miller at Charlie Kirk's funeral basically copy and pasted a Goebbels speech? Was it really fascist when, like, how many times do I have to do this? Like, to me, this is like we are the pot in the we are the frog in the pot. The bubbles are rising all around us, and you're telling me the water's fine. And
I would never say the water's fine.
And I've been shouting. I've been concerned since the burner got cranked up to high.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And maybe it's because I'm a journalist and I felt I was in the crosshairs early on. Like, I recognized what this project was about. Right. The FBI just raided an election office. Like, you know what I mean? That was part of his conspiracy mongering about Georgia. Like, this is not normal. This is not every day there's an escalation and we're all just supposed to go, well, the video looks a little this or looks a little that. What's the director of national intelligence doing at an FBI raid of an election office? Why was there a massive militarist deployment to a city like Minneapolis? Just only happened coincidentally weeks after a half illiterate incel YouTuber puts out a race baiting video full of lies about Somali people in Minnesota, banging on the doors of daycares. Let me see the children. Like, what kind of creepy, weird?
Are you talking about Nick Shirley?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And every interview that kid does since has just revealed like what kind of a dishonest weirdo actor that he is. And the majority of fraud that happened in Minnesota, this has all happened during COVID times. It's been investigated. The kingpin of the whole thing was a white lady, but some of the people involved in her fraud scheme were some Somali, a handful of people with nonprofits and whatnot, or different agencies that were Somali, not agencies, but organizations. And but this is how scapegoating works. Well, now it's Somali fraud, right?
But so you're right as far as like you being a journalist. Obviously, that's not something that I am.
Yeah.
So you definitely are. That's what I'm looking for. You have a certain kind of mind.
Experience.
Maybe I don't possess, and you have experience in that kind of thing.
And I hate to pull crowd credentials, but I'm an award-winning journalist. I've won awards for reporting on human trafficking, domestic violence, issues that affect my community, and how they actually operate, and how we actually deal with these things.
And that's awesome.
But
what I was going to say was, so there would be, and I mentioned that, by the way, in the first episode in the intro.
Thank you.
To let everybody. I don't.
Quick disclaimer. I know this makes me sound arrogant. Like I'm just a regular freaking guy with back pain and debt, just like anybody else. I'm not. There's nothing special. I just pay a lot of attention to these things. I care. I do have a standard of what I try to find out what things are true. It's not just based on my feelings, man. I don't just hate Donald Trump, man. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that like there are plenty, and maybe you disagree with this, but there's plenty of people that are just like you, right? They're journalists. They've spent their lives researching things, coming to conclusions, and this kind of thing. Yet they would come to completely different conclusions than you on a lot of these issues, and when pressed on them, you know, kind of like I'm pressing you. Well, what about this one? What about this? You know, it could be the tables could be turned here, and it could be you know, more of a lefty, me being in my seat, and
sure,
more of a right, you know, journalist on your side, and kind of pushing it, and the response is going to be very similar.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's because they're, you know, there's lying here and there's lying here and they're twisting this and they're doing this. So, I mean, for me, the way my mind works, and this is why I love this show. I'm going all over the place, but I'll get back to my point, I promise.
Yeah.
There's a show called, I'm sure you've seen it, called Surrounded.
Oh, God.
Have you seen this? Jubilee.
Jubilee's awful.
Oh, I love this show. The reason I like it is because, well, I'll tell you why I like it. Maybe you tell me that, no, that's not what I like. I don't like it for those reasons. But I like how they pit the people against each other in a sense, right? Sounds bad. Sounds bad. But I think it's good because I think it's healthy debate and healthy discussion. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a shouting match where nothing ever gets solved. But most of the ones I've seen, these guys and girls are really mostly giving their views. I don't agree with everybody, obviously. There's sometimes somebody in the middle that I disagree with. Sometimes all the people around I don't agree with. But I like how they're able to kind of go at people that have done the research on both sides, and then you have this straight arrow news that pops up with the fact checks, and from what I've seen, they seem pretty unbiased. They're like, we're not taking this is what we know. Here's the fact, and based on whatever this person said, and they say, well, actually this person just gave this statistic and this is not right, or yes, it's 100% correct that this percentage of this people was this or whatever. So as I sit here and I talk to you, what my mind does is go, man, it would be really neat for me to be an outside observer and watch someone who is in your position, but on the other side of the fence as far as beliefs and thoughts and evidence for their side, and to hear you guys compare
air quotes around evidence.
I have to, because everybody has it.
This is the thing.
Everybody has evidence.
Everybody does it.
Supposed evidence.
Everybody does.
That's why the quotes are there.
You know,
everybody claims to have evidence.
There are people on the right who hold themselves to a standard of evidence, and I respect that. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I've been around the block long enough to know that there's not one kind of conservative.
Yeah.
There are many kinds. Just like there are many kinds of left wingers.
Of course there is.
And these are just, you know, we're all human beings, but there are just different ideological camps and different.
I've had plenty of conservatives on this show that we don't see eye to eye on stuff.
Of course, yeah, and you know, I know conservatives who are bullied into keeping quiet about things they disagree on.
Sure.
And, you know, there are tons of conservatives who defected from Trump early on and are now, it's funny, some of them are very loud and prominent voices against what they call the MAGA movement or what have you, because they feel like it is a far cry from the classical American conservatism they grew up with.
And I personally probably agree with a lot of that, and not agree with that.
Yeah,
agree with you.
I know what you're saying.
When you would say, "Oh, I'm against this part of MAGA or this part of this part of this part," there's a lot of those things. I would be like, I mean, dude, totally.
You have to recognize, like, you know, conservatives in general. If we're going to broad brush, conservatism favors a preservation or a restoration of the status quo and hierarchy.
Yeah.
Okay. During the American Revolution, conservatives did not want to depose the king. During the Civil War, conservatives did not want to abolish slavery, or even before the Civil War. During the Civil Rights era, conservatives did not want to pass the Civil Rights Act because they wanted to preserve the status quo hierarchy, okay? What you're seeing now is a certain sect of conservatism that is particularly authoritarian, it's particularly militaristic, it's particularly violent, and frankly scapegoats racial minorities. And we've seen how this played out across the 20th century with fascist movements in Europe, but also authoritarian neo-fascist regimes across the world during the Cold War, Latin America, Indonesia. You know, the far right military took over in 1965, and they slaughtered more than 1 million people in like 2 years' time. It started with the communists, and then they moved on to labor organizers, journalists, hippies, poets, creative types, gay people, that like there is a serious aspect of a certain type of hyper nationalist, some of it can be religious fundamentalist, doesn't have to be, but there is a type of authoritarianism that is violent and will impose violence on people. And we've seen it again and again and again. And you see it in the way that so many people were are quick and will be quick for the next one to dismiss the killings, the murder of American citizens.
But you're not saying that violence is never necessary. You're just saying that in some of these situations you think it was unnecessary.
I don't think we need roving bands of militarized
I got
state thugs ripping through our communities.
Right. But just in general.
This is an outcome. This was a predictable outcome. Mm-hmm. People were saying before and after the election, mass deportation, there's a reality of what this is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And it's going to involve an erosion of all of our rights. It's going to involve violence. It's going to be a very violent process. Not all of us are going to make it to the end of the second Trump administration just because of the reality of this. We are supposed to be a free country. We're supposed to be a country with laws where there's checks and balances. Those are gone now. Those are gone. This is what I mean when I say we have a lawless administration. They do not feel accountable. ICE was under more than 100 judicial orders to de-escalate in Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities, in Minnesota. Federal judges had told them, multiple orders, CPB and ICE, no more tear gas, no more flashbangs, no more pepper balls, none of this. You are trampling people's First Amendment rights to protest. They're allowed to protest on their own streets, in their own communities. Yes, they get to yell at you. Yes, they get to call you names. Yes, that is not an imposition. Well, they can attack anybody, but that's not an imposition. That's not the journalists documenting federal operations, citizen journalists documenting the functions of the government. That is not impeding a law enforcement investigation.
What about like when they block freeways? Are you against that?
I mean, that's really like you're bringing up one example of one type.
I'm just asking you
one type of protest. You know what I mean?
I'm just asking you personally if you think that is within the rights of protest, or if that's
civil. That's civil disobedience. It's not violent. It's it's not shooting. It's not shooting at police. It's not attacking police. It's not.
I'm just saying, if people were blocking a freeway in protest, and the cops showed up and arrested all those people, would you say that was a justified arrest?
I don't know. It's civil disobedience. People engage in civil disobedience with the understanding that they are going to get arrested, usually. But what we're seeing right now is people protesting on their own streets, standing on the sidewalk with cameras, having tear gas shot in their face, having pepper balls, shot in their eyes, blinding them. Like like I said, these agencies had orders from judges to de-escalate and stop doing what they're doing, and they've completely ignored it. In California, we the people voted to say that these federal agents cannot mask themselves. We shouldn't have a masked law enforcement in this country, and they're ignoring that too. So we're in a lawless situation here. The people in charge of the Department of Justice are using it like not a blunt tool, like a blade, and they are going after their political enemies. Right. They, the Fed chair didn't do what he wanted with the interest rates, and so they're investigating the Fed chair.
But you would say that the masking of the ICE agents that aren't showing their face, right? You would say they should, because then they're accountable, right?
Yeah.
You can say, this is the guy that did
what
this.
What other law enforcement agency do we have in this country that goes around in masks?
Right.
Name one.
No, there's not.
Exactly.
But they would, and I understand that, but their reason for doing that, right, would be to protect their identity.
Why? Because they know that there's going to
be retaliation.
Well, because they're acting outside the law, they're attacking people. Well, how many videos do you? I mean, I don't know what your algorithm looks like, but for the last year, I've watched endless amounts of people being assaulted and brutalized and terrorized. Our community has been terrorized by this regime, by these shock troops. I'll call them a Gestapo. I ain't afraid to say it, because I'm sorry, but there's, our local law enforcement, they live here in town. The people recognize them around town. They might not like them, but they don't feel like they have to hide their faces. Show me your badge number. What's your name? Like, that's basic accountability.
So you, though, I know you would never, I mean, I'm not saying you would ever do this, but let's say in some other universe, you're an ICE agent. You wouldn't feel scared. I know, but you wouldn't be scared of that.
This is why they think they can act with impunity.
Okay.
They are being told you get to do what you want. Like, you haven't seen any of the threats they've been making to people. There was an ICE agent who just the other day said, if you raise your voice, I'll erase your voice. There were other agents after Renee Good that was killed where they said, you didn't learn your lesson. You didn't learn your lesson. So these are state thugs. They are not honest law enforcement. And most Americans can see that. ICE used to have a majority of support that's been completely eroded in all the polling.
I agree, and that's why the polling now shows that most Americans agree with mass deportation, but they don't agree with what's happening with Renee Good.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's also how you word polling questions. Polls can be, the way you ask a question is very indicative in the poll. But also, more Americans have woken up to the fact that this is what mass deportation looks like. Is it's an erosion of your rights, not just immigrants' rights.
So let me go back to the Alex Pretti thing real quick. I was going to ask you this earlier, but we kind of went away from it and came back.
Yeah.
So that video we were talking about that was, I think, was taken like a week prior to his killing.
Yeah, days after they murdered one of his neighbors, Renee Good. So, yeah.
Okay. But that video where he's spitting at the vehicle, he kicks the tail light out, all that.
Talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Do you think that it would have been a justified arrest for them to arrest him for that?
If that was an ICE vehicle, he destroyed government property.
So yes,
I guess. But
you guess.
Does that mean they should have
shoot
him in the back, stay in execution?
That's what I'm saying. I'm asking about that specific thing from your view. I'm trying to kind of get at. I understand where we're.
It's
all
the
at
law.
with
If you
shootings.
destroy government, if you do damage to government property, you get arrested. That's not.
But is there a part
controversial.
of you that feels like that's almost justified because of your feelings towards ICE agents and what?
It's not about my feeling towards ICE agents. It's about the fact that why were there marauding packs of like I have family who are in LA. They were going to the market, and on their way, we called them, and they're like, "Oh, hold on, we're like." Getting tear gassed right now. They were on their way to the market. They witnessed an ICE vehicle crash into a car intentionally.
Yeah.
Jump out with guns drawn on the family inside that car. And then they have blocked traffic with this accident they created. Then when people start honking their horns and coming out of their businesses and seeing what's going on, they fire tear gas at them. If you don't see that as a problem, I have to wonder why. Like, I have to wonder why people don't... Well, they're just doing their job of smashing into cars and drawing guns on our streets and firing tear gas at our citizens just to haul off a couple of people to a concentration camp where they might starve to death. They're being tortured. They're assaulting children. There was an ICE agent who... was so bad he is being tried now for continuing to assault a woman, extort her for sex, for pictures of her own child. This is what this system looks like. This is the reality of it. And anybody who wants to get out onto their street and scream and spit at those people, and yes, even kick their car. If you don't see the righteousness in that, if you don't see that Alex Pretti was a patriot, as was Renee Good, standing up for her own community on her own street against federal overreach, tyranny. This is tyranny, what we're witnessing. That literally, they are going door to door in Minneapolis, kicking people's door downs with no warrant, no federal warrant. That's the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. Literally part of what, like, our founding fathers set up the Bill of Rights for. Habeas corpus, the fact that you get a trial if you're arrested, that's been erased. Like, this goes back to the Magna Carta, man. They are erasing rights that liberal rights that have existed for centuries. Now, I don't have rose-colored glasses like they're always have existed. I've always been honored that these are inalienable rights. No, our rights are something you have to, when they're eroded, you have to fight for them. And so
backing up a little bit. So first of all, let me say this. I am not in the camp of the people that you just mentioned who see something like that video with that in LA or maybe not a video, but just what you described your family was going through, to where I would see that and go, well, they're just doing their job. I guess that's totally fine. Whatever the case is, I have no problem with it at all. That's not me at all. That's not me. However, I am the kind of person who, again, just because of the last couple of years of seeing things and more story comes out, if I see a video, let's say, that this is a total hypothetical situation I'm painting right now. I don't know. I'm sure this is similar to some stuff that's happened. But let's say I see a video and the video starts and there's a car and you see a cop car crashes into the car, and then the people get out of the car, and then ICE agents come up and they shoot tear gas. Right? Let's see, that's all I have to go on. That's it. By the same token that I can't see that footage and say, yep, they're just doing their job. ICE agents right 100% in the right on that one. Way to go, guys. I can't say that, but by the same token, I can't say, oh, that was totally wrong, totally not okay. Because the problem is I don't really know why. I don't know what happened before that. I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know what kind of things are happening around them outside of the camera view. I just feel like there's so little information given sometimes. So for me personally, I know some people just jump on it, and that's up to them. I have a hard time doing that because I just feel like I don't know. I don't know the situation.
Well, I think that's on you to do more research if you want to get to know
You're absolutely
the
right. I'm just talking about first glance. This is all we have. This just happened 5 minutes ago. Here's the video on the news. This is all we have. And I feel like as weeks and weeks go by, sometimes months go by, and then they release a full video, or then they release a whole thing,
or whatever,
so, right? And then you see a little more of the story, and sometimes that changes the whole entire story.
Sometimes, very rarely. But like, was there? Hold on.
If it only happens once, that's enough for me to say I can't make a judgment on that yet, because I might be wrong.
Well, we all watched, unless you didn't watch it, George Floyd get murdered by convicted, murdered by a police officer. Would there need to be? There are multiple angles of it. Would there need to be? There were plenty of people who thought that. There were plenty of conservatives who came out and said that, well, he had some type of amount of a narcotic in his bloodstream, so that was a drug overdose. He wasn't murdered. Do you think that's a reasonable argument to make?
I think
a guy who had his neck
okay, but that's what I'm saying.
For
when more video came out, the knee wasn't even on his neck. That's what I'm saying.
Are you kidding me?
No.
You think there was no knee on his neck?
There was a knee on him. But if another angle that came out showed that.
Oh, okay. But every angle shows a knee on his neck.
Well, it shows a knee on his body somewhere.
No, on his neck. And there's other evidence that came out in trial, his blood test, that there was some type of narcotic in his blood.
Right.
So there were...
Well, they say there was enough fentanyl to kill 5 men in his system.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe who said that, first of all.
But they had
second of all, yes. And that's the thing. Families have to pay for independent autopsies to... Like, this is why also looking at one situation and going, well, I can't decide one way or another. When you need to, like, those of us on the left, we also examine systems. We don't just... Nothing exists in an isolated situation. There's a whole system, the systemic critique of law enforcement, the systemic critique of federal law enforcement.
Sure, but when you look at like a court of law, though, like if you're trying a case, right, you're trying that case. You're not trying all the other stuff that came around it, right? Unless it's directly correlated to
and there's
that
a reason
case.
why the system never goes on trial. But what you do have happen is cases get overturned because law enforcement mishandled evidence, or cases get overturned because law enforcement fabricated evidence, or how many forensic files do you have to watch, where the person is later exonerated with DNA evidence because law enforcement convicted the wrong person. So this isn't a perfect system, and the systemic critique is a zooming out from any one situation. That's what I've been attempting to do here when I say, why are we deploying shock troops to our communities to just rove around looking for people that don't look right to them?
Yeah.
That's not how ICE operated, just in the last administration and administrations prior.
Right.
They did targeted enforcement. They didn't roll through our communities with armored vehicles like they did out in the rural area of our valley, but bashing people's door downs and acting like it's, like G.I. Joe or whatever. Like that is a policy decision.
Yeah.
Okay, and
which by the way, we agree on a lot of this. I hope you realize that. I am not justifying some of the stuff that ICE has done.
Well, good, but
and I'm not. What I'm trying to get to, I guess, is some of the more. I'm trying to find the common ground because I know it's there, right? And I'm not. So usually, what happens is and you're gonna love this. I'm gonna say like, if what you're saying is happening, and you're gonna say, well, it's definitely happening. But I'm gonna say, if that's happening, and they're just randomly busting down people's doors, targeting them for no real reason other than, oh, that guy's brown, let's bust their door. Right.
Yes.
And
that's what's happening. That is what's happening.
I know. I know that but there's...
It's not what I believe, it's what's demonstrably true.
Okay. But the issue to me is not that everybody believes that that's happening and they're okay with it on the right. The issue is, for a vast majority of people on the right, they don't believe that's what's actually happening.
Yeah, I know.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
if they did, then they would agree with you. They'd say, no, that shouldn't be happening. That's wrong. That's not okay. If they're tackling grandma on the street.
But there are plenty of people on the right who know that that's happening, and they're more than happy with it. They say, this is what I voted for. Okay. They're in my comments. They're all over the comments of a lot of this stuff, and they revel in the cruelty, man.
Well,
DHS,
that's not
okay. I'm sorry, they altered an image of a woman to make her crying recently that they arrested. They used the Studio Ghibli AI generator of an ICE agent arresting a Latina mother crying.
They have one of those, Studio Ghibli?
Yeah, and the Department of DHS used this cartoon AI generator to show an image of an ICE agent and a Latina woman crying. What does that tell you about how far this thing has gone and how far this is derailed? This isn't normal law enforcement. Yeah. When you have the communications apparatus of that agency disseminating overtly fascist, not crypto-fascist memes or ideas, but reveling in the violence, reveling in the authoritarianism, saying that people who aren't white are polluting the country, are poisoning the blood. We've seen this before. Like this is dire straits that we are in, and now we're stuck arguing over the wherefores and wheretos of the latest citizen they murdered. They shot in the street. But like, there's a massive apparatus and a machine. Where'd all the Proud Boys go? Where'd all these militia types go? They're not marching through the streets like they used to. The standards of ICE recruits drop dramatically. They don't even have to do a certain number of push-ups. Not like I could, they reduce the amount of training from like a half a year or more to 47 days. Yeah. Why? Because 47th president. There's inside reporting. Look up Ken Klippenstein. He hears from lots of people inside these agencies. He's a very
with a K
with a K. Ken Klippenstein, and they send him information. ICE agents are reporting on their own agency that the guys coming in are overtly fascistic. They'll say things like troubling tattoos with air quotes around it. They are doing things like sneaking flasks. They're drinking on the job. They're hyping themselves up. The other day one was caught on a mic after they're all shooting tear gas at citizens of a community. Oh, this is awesome! It's like Call of Duty. It's just like Call of Duty. Like, these are yahoos, and these
again, I think, in my opinion, most of America would agree with you that is not cool. That's
But you don't
jacked
see how
up.
propagandized most Americans are. Have you ever watched Newsmax? Have you ever have you ever listened to Stephen Miller talk for more than 1 minute?
I'm not a fan of Stephen Miller.
Yeah. So the amount of lying that goes
Right.
on there when you listen to the outlets that he's friendly with,
Right.
that he's welcome on.
Yeah.
Newsmax, One America
Sure.
News.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a huge
Fox
fan
News.
of Trump either.
But you don't like the lies, the absolute lies, and that's the thing. You can say, well, I think most people would disagree. Like the you know, a lot of people didn't want to say anything after Renee Good, but even more people have said stuff after Pretti because even you know, I mean, I saw multiple. You know, Facebook has a heavy right wing bias. And I get fed a lot of right-wing content, none of which I follow. It's just pushed into my feed on the regular. And I pay attention to what they're saying. And, like, there were tons of libertarian parties and groups and pages that are not okay with a guy exercising his Second Amendment, legally licensed to carry, being executed in the street. And then the conservative government coming out and saying you can't have a gun at a protest. Like, what?
Yeah.
We've been showing up to protests with our guns. When we did all the anti-shutdown and anti-mask protests, we brought our guns.
Right.
Telling me I can't bring my gun?
Well,
You know?
I would say that I have no problem with that, bringing a gun to a protest. I don't have a problem with that. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as it's in a state that's your protected right. I mean, some states you can't, and that's fine too. But
but
in the state Pretti was in, then you could. So. Yeah, so I mean, like I said in the beginning, we were going to say this for the end, but we're in it. So we'll just finish up with the immigration/ICE stuff, you know, which makes sense that it's. I mean, because it's on everybody's mind right now. It's obviously all over the place.
yeah, because
it's what's happening right now.
the state is murdering us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to kind of go. I'm going to start at the beginning of my list here with the immigration ICE stuff. I did write down Ken Klippenstein, which is a
he's
really
good.
cool name, by the way.
He's a great journalist, independent. He gets a lot of people leaking to him. That's his kind of thing. Is people send him stuff.
Gotcha. So the first thing I have here is, and this goes back to the first time we met because you mentioned this.
Yeah.
And I had this written down the first time, even before all the recent ICE stuff happening. But you described the current illegal immigration enforcement as ethnic cleansing.
This is an ethnic cleansing.
So can you describe what you mean by that? And then I'm going to have some follow-up questions.
Well, they are removing people based on the way they look and their ethnic makeup. The Supreme Court made it so that they could racially profile people. That was Kavanaugh wrote the majority decision on that. So they can stop you based on the way you look, or the way you sound, and like if you haven't caught on and put all the dots together. That there's racism involved in this administration and the way that, targeting women of color in the Congress and calling them low IQ, targeting people of color around the country as illegitimate. Like, there's a reason why they focus on certain areas in certain cities, Chicago, LA, and the lie that millions of undocumented immigrants are voting. They are trying to delegitimize people of color and their engagement in our democracy. And what you're seeing with the deployment of these agencies is specifically an ethnic cleansing, where they're trying to reverse demographic change in this country. And these are words that they use. I'm not...
Yeah, but it seems like to be ethnic cleansing, the target would need to be, let's say in our state, California, would have to be Mexican people, not illegal immigrants. Right? That would be more ethnic cleansing. If they said, okay, everybody, ICE agent, want to go out and find every Mexican person you can, and we're going to get rid of them. It doesn't matter if they're legal or illegal.
I don't know how much.
And we're going to get rid of them.
I don't know how much you've looked into how these agencies operate and the language they use. They don't refer to people as people. They call them bodies.
Okay. But aren't they referring to legal immigrants?
Whether they're alive or dead.
I don't agree with the term, by the way. I don't agree
thing.
with calling them bodies. That's wrong.
This is the thing. This is the thing is, first of all, Mexican is not an ethnicity, it's a nationality.
Right.
Second of all, they are targeting South Americans writ large. There have been multiple, there have been many citizens who've been caught up in this dragnet because they're Latinos. Because
that's back to the profiling.
Yeah,
which is I'm going to get to that.
Should tell you something that they're targeting people based on their ethnicity. If someone drives by you and they're a Canadian, an undocumented Canadian, and they drive right past you and they go, "Oh, that's not anybody we need to worry about."
Well, but they might do that in Washington State.
But they're not. They're not. Find me a video of a Canadian getting their driver's side window smashed in and dragged out of a car or dragged across the road. They have dragged pregnant women and I mean, there's video after video after video after video of this. Okay, they're targeting certain people, and then there's video after video of Americans who are Americans being asked, "Where's your papers?" Like it is the Third Reich. Like, show us your papers. But you can't walk down the street now. That's another constitutional right that's been eroded. Free movement. You're demanded to show your documentation because your skin is a certain shade. That doesn't strike you at all.
Well, let me ask you though: Are you against any form of profiling ever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because you're assigning guilt, collective guilt, to a group of people.
Not necessarily. Profiling does not assigning guilt. Let me paint a scenario for you. So let's say you're a police officer. I know you'd love to be a police officer. So if you're a police officer and your shift is like, I don't know, you happen to be out on the streets between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. Right? As part of your shift every night. And you see a group of 20-somethings driving around at 2 a.m. Okay,
I've been in that situation. Okay. I've been the one pulled over.
Okay, so now hang on. I'm getting to something. So you're a police officer, let's say, and you pull over. Let's say this is again hypothetical. You pull over every night around between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. a group of 20-somethings driving around. And 8 out of 10 times, let's say, we'll put a high percentage. Let's say 8 out of 10 times they're doing something wrong. You find after you pull them over that they're doing something wrong.
I've had this exact experience, my friend. And first of all, I've been told by a law enforcement officer when he was off duty, "Oh, I would profile you in a second because you have a long beard and long hair.
Sure,
you probably have weed in the cars."
And you might not, right?
Exactly. So here's another situation.
But my point is, if 80% of the time someone that looks like you doesn't that make it worthwhile to use that kind of system? I'm not saying be a jerk or walk up and say, "What are you doing, you long bearded loser," and be mean about it.
But this just shows you what you're accepting as a part of this system. That what you are accepting as business as usual, when Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking children for years and years and years, and they gave him a sweetheart deal to not even serve any jail time, to be under basically house arrest because he was wealthy and he had influence and he had power.
Yeah, but I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
but we're not profiling. The police are not cruising the financial district of town looking for stockbrokers who are engaging in Ponzi schemes.
But if
they're not roughing up business owners who are committing wage theft, which is actually, you could add up all form of property theft in this country, petty crime. It does not put a dent in the amount of wage theft. Workers who are being underpaid.
Yeah.
That is, so our system
but if they were doing
targets
profiling for that,
groups of people.
Would you say that was a good profiling for them to do that?
Not necessarily.
I would say
this is the thing, we're talking about racial profiling. Literally profiling people based on the way they look and their ethnic makeup.
Sure.
That is assigning collective guilt to a whole group of people.
I disagree.
Yes, it is.
Because if you pull them over and they're not doing it, they're not guilty.
You are deciding. This is the thing, man. I was pulled over in Orchid as a 20-some-year-old, and my car, I was sober, and I was driving a car full of drunk, 19 and 20-year-olds home.
Okay.
They were all breaking the law.
Right.
None of them were Latinos. None of them were black. Neither was I. Mm-hmm. And so none of us, the officer pulled us over. He said, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "We came from a party." I didn't lie to him. He said, "What? A party where?" And it went on. He said, "What? Have you had anything?" "No, officer, I haven't had a single drink," which was true. "I will take a breathalyzer. I will take a blood test."
Yeah.
I told him that straight up.
Good.
I said, "All of these guys have had drinks." Mm-hmm. And I'm the one driving them home.
Yeah, you're making the right decision to drive
He shined the flashlight in all their faces. "How old are you? How old are you?" None of them were 21. Mm-hmm. They all answered honestly.
Yeah.
None of them got pulled out of the car. None of them got frisked. None of them, he said, "Well, take them home and get out of here." I know other people who have had not that experience.
Right.
And I've been pulled over in my life. I can count it on one hand, the number of times I've been pulled over. Friends of mine who grew up in lower income parts of town, who have darker shades of skin than me, they laugh at the idea that they had been pulled over. They could count it on one hand.
Right.
So if racial profiling is not the same as the general profiling or the FBI using psychological profiling for serial killers and such, like it's not the same. And this is the thing, collective guilt. You got to learn a thing or two about what that means and why. Because Americans do this all the time, and the media is complicit in it. So much of legacy media takes whatever law enforcement says at face value, and will run every mugshot that they send them, and it leads to a perception that, well, these are the people that commit the crime. That's what they look like, and so we should accept the police profiling these certain groups of people. So
statistics.
Yeah. So people see somebody. I know enough. People, and I've heard enough in my life where there are racists who stand in line at a grocery store and they assume the people in front of them are illegals because of the way they talk or the way they look. They don't know a thing about them.
Sure.
Right now, all the craziness in Minneapolis and the targeting of Somali Americans,
right?
More than 90% of the Somalians in Minnesota are all citizens.
Yeah,
they're all citizens. They're Americans.
But if you were in the grocery store, let's say you're at Albertsons over here or whatever,
yeah,
and the guy in front of you was wearing a MAGA hat,
yeah,
is there anything you might assume about that guy?
That he's a Republican or a MAGA supporter? Why?
Well, there's no kind of stereotypical thoughts you might have about the guy wearing the MAGA hat. Would you think to yourself, that guy's probably a really cool dude I'd love to hang out with?
I don't know. I don't really care. I don't. You know what I mean? But what I'm not gonna do is say this guy's illegitimate and he shouldn't be here and we need to put him in a camp.
I know that. I guess I'm just.
But that's the answer for so many.
Well, because it's
people.
almost a natural. It's almost involuntary sometimes, which I think is the point you're making.
We all make judgments.
If someone sees someone in front of you, the scenario is painted, or someone's in front of you, and you're like, oh, they're probably illegals, right? You're right.
Man,
we all might. Think
I
of
try
that
not to judge people.
Sure.
I try, but we all do. Like that's
exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm the same.
We can be honest about that, but it's not about it us versus them. Mm-hmm. But this is about recognizing how people are otherized and dehumanized, calling people illegals.
Yeah.
Which
I don't like. I said that the first time.
When all they've done is committed a civil violation, which is no different than running a speeding ticket or parking in the red.
Yeah.
We're all illegals then, if that's the case. So that's part of a campaign of dehumanization.
Well, except the difference is, and again, I don't like the term illegals. I don't use it.
Yeah.
But the difference is between somebody doing a parking violation versus being in the
not having proper documentation. That's all they're guilty of. They haven't committed a crime. They're just over a border, right. And I'm sorry, but the UN Charter, it's international law. People have freedom of movement.
Yeah.
Do you deserve to be thrown in a cage and assaulted for being in England?
Back up.
You know what I mean?
That's the far side of it. But I want to back up to where. Would you say that it is illegal? Would you use the words, you yourself, the words, it's illegal for someone who's undocumented, without a green card, without a work visa, anything, to be living in America? Would you say that's illegal, or would you say that that's...
I mean...
Not the people, but what they're doing is illegal.
Is it illegal under civil law? So is I guess in the same sense that driving over the speed limit is illegal, parking in the red
You get a ticket
is
for it.
illegal.
You could,
but
yeah.
again, this is like,
It's not a felony.
but
it's still
now
illegal.
but we're using that terminology to justify federal law enforcement that is stomping all over the Constitution, over people's right of free assembly, their Second Amendment rights, their Fourth, Third, Fifth. This is the thing. Like when you want to have this conversation about people who just don't have the right papers in their possession. Like even if they have the right papers, they're still locking people up. They're arresting people at their court hearings. They just canceled, like literally a bunch of people were lined up to go give their oath to become citizens, and they canceled the ceremony. You didn't hear about that?
I'm not sure.
The Trump administration canceled the citizenship ceremony of several people based on the countries they came from. Latin American, South American countries. This is the thing. Do it the right way. That's a lie. They're lying to you. They're liars. They lie, okay? So it was never about doing it the right way. That's why they're arresting people at their court hearings where they're doing it the right way. That's why they're canceling the ceremonies where people have gone through every hurdle to do it the right way, and they're about to take their oath, and they cancel their citizenship. These are white supremacists. They're neo-Nazis. They're Klansmen, and they are committing an ethnic cleansing. It's plain for all to see. They don't make a secret of it. They're posting Nazi on Maine on their social media accounts. You know, like to me, it's incumbent upon anyone else to tell me that's what's not going on. And the evidence is so overwhelming that it's hard for me to. And you can try to fall back to these, let's go back to first principles and talk about what should and shouldn't be illegal. Human beings have a right of free movement. They have the right of habeas corpus. And the Constitution is clear that this applies to everyone. Not just citizens, anyone in the country. Doesn't matter how you got here, doesn't matter what piece of paper you have on you. You have certain inalienable rights because all people are created equal.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist right now. We have a lawless administration. International law doesn't exist. They'll invade your country, steal your leader if they want.
Yeah.
They will shoot you in the face if you don't do exactly what they tell you, even if they're giving you conflicting orders. They will lock you up, and if you are doing something they don't like on a whim, you raised your voice at me, I'm going to shoot you. Like that's the authority. It's just might makes right.
Yeah.
This is authoritarianism. This is what it means to live in an authoritarian country.
I asked you this in our first meeting, and I don't think you, at least, I don't feel like you clearly answered, at least to my idiotic brain. As far as just open borders. Are you pro open borders? I
said then it's a misnomer. We have borders. They're enforced.
Yeah, but do you think they should be? Is my question. Not do we have?
This is like the idealist. Like what it would be nice if we lived in a freaking Star Trek future where anybody could go anywhere and do anything, and everything's fine. Like, in my heart of hearts, I'm a humanist. I don't I identify as a human being over everything else. This is why the whole nationalism and all that stuff. It would be nice to live in a completely free, borderless society. You could go where you want, talk to people you want, associate with anybody you want. But we live in the world we live in. We have borders. I recognize that. I'm not, and again, this is also the systemic critique that goes back. Maybe we wouldn't have an influx of so many people from south of the border coming in here if we weren't openly exploiting and intervening in countries south of the border, as we have all the time. Just pick up any book about the Cold War. Look up Operation Condor. Just what we did under Obama's administration in Honduras, and our government was funneling money to militarized gangs and juntas to support the political factions that favored our interests. The idea of a banana republic, all of that. We destabilize these countries, and then we get angry that people have to flee from there and they want to come here. Yeah. Somalians. Everybody's freaking out about Somalians in Minnesota and acting like, scapegoating them for a certain amount of fraud and that happened during the COVID times. Somalia was racked by a civil war in the 90s. Most of the Somalians in America are refugees from that civil war, where we were funding factions in that civil war because it was at the end of the Cold War, and there were different actors in that.
Yeah.
So we wanna act like, oh well, we need to just impose the law, and everybody who comes here needs to act just absolutely lawfully, when we have acted with total impunity and unlawfully in the name of an imperial agenda, which is, again, like less overtly racist, less supremacist, still those things. But now we just see how they've turned the volume up to 11.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I think you just gave me a whole bunch of information that I need to look into. That's what I think. Before I really have... Again, with a lot of the things you say, you've done a lot more research than me. You've looked into things that I haven't. And again, this... Fine, that's awesome. I need to do the same, right? But
yeah.
I would say that the things that you're saying, just like I was saying earlier, let's say I do the research and I'm like, man, Joe was spot on. Joe was 100% right on this. Then I'm going to join the Joe team on those topics, right? Because honestly, I'm always looking for the truth. I don't care. I've said it a million times on here. Let's say I hold staunch. I've even said about my own Christianity. If someone can prove that it's not, I don't want it. I do not want false. Like someone brings me the bones of Jesus and can literally prove to me that these are definitely 100% the bones of Jesus. There's no other explanation for it. It is definitely the bones of Jesus. I'm abandoning all of Christianity right then and there. It's over.
I think you gotta. I don't know if that type of claim is that knowable.
It's not. But I'm saying hypothetically, if somebody were able to show that to me, because that would show that he never rose from the grave, which means my whole belief system is bunk, I'd be gone. But
I mean, I've said before, being an American, we're born on the inside of the wall,
sure,
of the largest empire in world history.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be a nationalist, left or right, but especially if you want to be a conservative nationalist, you're playing the game on easy mode. You don't have to be critical. You don't have to think critically about this country and its legacy. That's why they're at war with history. That's why they hate historians and they hate journalists.
Yeah.
It's because they don't want to reckon with the genocide of Native Americans. Sure. Don't want to reckon that our perfect, the greatest country ever of all time, that its system of capitalism began with generations of stolen labor, people whose labor was just stolen from them.
Yeah.
The violence of that system, the brutality of it.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit with that. We don't want to recognize that. Historians keep churning out. We're getting more and more information. We're always reinterpreting the past. That's what historians do.
Right.
But you have a whole faction of people who just have their fingers in their ears, and they do not want to, and they're openly hostile to you for saying anything about it.
And that's what I was saying earlier. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have as a culture, as a country.
Well, while there are some on the left who might be like that, there are very insignificant factions of the left that are always like at war with each other, anarchists and communists, and Marxist-Leninists versus Trotskyists versus, and frankly, I don't have any time or patience for those people. It's all just book clubs with personal beefs and cliques and cults of personality. I'm a democratic socialist, left progressive. I have a critique of capitalism. I have a critique of imperialism. We live in a capitalist empire. Right now it's in decline. It's very much like fraying and crumbling. There's a reason, like I said, why this trying to return a glorious past, which is what Trumpism is, make America great again. Like it's I know leftists who are like, this isn't fascism. I mean, we're all still showing our faces and using our names. So it's not the thing until it's too late to do anything about it. So like you say it's very fascistic the way that this administration is operating. But like, we are we are living, like I said, if you want to be uncritical and just take the benefit of the doubt for all these systems of power and hierarchy, corporatism, capitalism, that have been, set up by generations and generations of imperial conquest, and the nation state is a new invention. In the history of civilization, the nation state is brand new. Okay, it's been around a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
And
you just reminded me of what I was going to start with.
Yeah, and so like, this is the thing, is like being like the way I am. I don't wish it on a lot of people. It's work. I've read a lot. I haven't even read. There are more people, way more well read than I. There are museums filled with stuff I don't know.
Sure.
And I've focused on the things I've focused on, but like my ideals come from humanism. I believe in universal human rights. I believe I believe in everybody's humanity, but I think there is a strong amount of like inhumanity in the ruling class that just comes from, and it's an outbirth, it's a outcome of the material conditions. When you insulate yourself in that much money and power, drives you insane. That song I wrote before I came on last time, money and power drive a man insane. Takes a sick and twisted type of brain to walk real happy onto Epstein's plane. Like that's the world we're living in. These people have no love for humanity. They can't wait to shoot off to Mars and leave this beautiful planet a cinder, a rubble heap, a pile of polluted,
So you're not going to be one of the first to colonize Mars? You're not.
No, see, I don't. Colonization is not good. It's not good for the colonized. It's not good for the colonizer.
Right.
That's the thing. It's like that's part of my family history. Is I have ancestors baptized in the missions. Okay, like I see. I've experienced the legacy of settler colonialism. It's great to be living here in California, but it's also like it's not great for the colonizer. Comes with problems. Having a veterans in my family, they come home with problems. Law enforcement. The realities of a career in that, even if you don't ever pull your gun on people, you see things that are harmful to you. You are forced to believe things that are harmful to you, not just to the people who are under the boot, but you yourself. It strips you of your humanity. That's a very fundamental difference between more liberal-minded people and more conservative-minded people. Liberal-minded people, we used to say live and let live, just an openness to people of other cultures, to people of other, sexual orientations, LGBTQ community. Like we welcome everybody. Like conservatism is protecting a rigid view of the world that never really existed. It's a chimera. It's a facade. It's gee golly gosh, how much is that doggy in the window? You know what I mean? That was, built upon the piles of bones of human life that was, lost and expended. While Americans are watching how much is that doggy in the window, the CIA is deposing, is removing the Mossadegh in Iran and putting in the Shah, and now what's happening in Iran right now is awful. But it's like it was our government that deposed their democratic socialist leader in the 50s. You know what I mean? Like these things, like if you want to have an honest look at things, like, you have to be cynical. You have to realize people are lying to you. Some people on the left are lying to you. But also the more you get into it, everybody, like a lot of people on the left are just trying to tell you what they think is the issue. Everybody has their pet thing. My name's this, and I write about mass incarcerations. I'm this person. I write about corporate greed. I'm this person. I write about law enforcement. I'm this person. I write about, and you have to try to appraise it all. And then there are other people criticizing each other in the same field. So, but at least they're trying to be honest. They're not outright just lying straight to your face, telling you not to believe what's right before your eyes. You know what I mean? And some people, you're right. Some people on the right say, oh, that's not true. They're all lying to you. So, you know, I hold myself to a higher standard of truth, but I also, you know, my beliefs come from a center of morality, which is a secular humanist morality. We all have value. I don't care who you are, what you did, where you're from, but I recognize I have much more in common with the Oaxacan woman next door than I do with Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or Elon Musk or any of those people who
I do too.
come into this state. You know, people say, "Oh, immigrants have ruined California." No, they have not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
No, they have not. They've built. I'm sorry, but our local economy is built on the backs of these people and their blood, sweat, and tears of their labor.
Sure.
And so much of what has eroded, like the social trust, comes from the wealth, the ruling class, and the decisions they've made that affect all of our lives.
To back up real quick, you just reminded me when I was talking about Woody Guthrie in the beginning. I was going to get to this, but then you mentioned nation states.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the band Propagandhi?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you heard their song?
Listened to them a lot.
And
Which
we
one?
thought nation states was a good idea. Have you heard that song?
No, that sounds.
Oh,
great.
dude, you'd love it.
I need
So
to
I was going to
listen
ask
more
you about
music. I'd be happy.
Propagandhi, and I was going to ask you about Anti-Flag, which is kind of like the punk rock Woody Guthrie, right? They even cover some Woody Guthrie songs.
Yeah, I've heard those, and
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, I'm guilty of not listening to enough different music,
You dig it,
especially punk. I have
Lyrically,
heard Anti-Flag. This is
you
the thing:
dig
is like
it.
we have always been here. We're always going to be here. The left and people who are critical of the machine, Rage Against the Machine, and the man, and you know, whether it's Woody Guthrie, and that's the thing is like, you know, we are happier playing our guitars and you know, screaming into the void than we are putting on a tie and getting to work and organizing and really being serious about grabbing power.
Right.
You know, you see again so many like of as a more left wing person, you know, the only choice we have to vote for is Democrats, and they're awful. And you know you know, Chuck Schumer is an embarrassment, and so is Hakeem Jeffries ain't any better.
Yeah.
And the people that they're like holding up are senators like Alyssa Slotkin, who's a CIA agent, who was CIA before she, you know. So it's Spanberger, like, you know, they're like, oh yeah, let's get all these prosecutors, and you know, Kamala Harris is a prosecutor. Let's get all these cops and CIA agents, and like, you know. And to me, as a left wing bird, those are villains. Those are villains. Like, I don't care how multicultural it is.
Well, and I appreciate that about you, to be honest, because I feel like even the first time we met up, I don't get the vibe from you that you're the kind of guy who says, this is my side, this is my team, and I'm never going to call out anybody on my side of this team because I'm loyal to my team. Yeah. You know, even though, you and I have a lot of disagreements, but I feel like you, like me, are the kind of person that's like, because I'll do the same thing. I'll call out people on the conservative side all day long because what they said there was wrong. What this guy did was wrong. Yeah. No problem with that. Yeah. But there's a lot of people on both sides of that aisle that are like, no, I've never said anything wrong about the left, or I've never said anything wrong about the right. And it's like, really?
And it doesn't make you tons of friends, you know, or it'll confuse and upset people online.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, I hear you saying all this stuff about Trump. Well, why are you criticizing Gavin Newsom? Or why are you criticizing...
Yeah, as if it's all
Obama,
part of the same...
Like, why are you criticizing Barack Obama? And it's like, well, again, he handed the keys of a massive... And he expanded a massive federal police state and handed it over to a lawless authoritarian.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's the thing, because they were interested in tending the machine of the empire. You know what I mean? It's like, you know... and I don't like that. And there have always been Americans who were like that. Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, the great American author.
Yeah.
He was president of the American Anti-Imperial League. Did you know that?
I did not know
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Helen Keller, massively...
Some people believe she didn't exist. Did you know that?
Oh, God. She was massively critical of American imperialism.
Yeah.
She celebrated the Soviet Revolution. And so, you know, we don't learn about that. We learn about the little girl who overcame her adversities. We don't learn about her political positions.
Right.
So, you know, you got to, you're checking all these things off of your list.
Well, I'm just realizing...
Did we really cover
that?
everything?
We covered those. At least with the ICE immigration thing. There's one more thing I wanted to ask in that section, and then I hope to backtrack to some of the other stuff. Again, I'm not sure how long you really have today. You said...
Whatever, man.
I'm loving
we can
it.
keep going for a little while.
So the last thing I would ask then about that is there a scenario that you could put together yourself where you would say that in someone getting shot and killed in an ICE raid or whatever, you would say that one was justified? Like, is there anything that could happen to where you would say, yeah, that was a justified shooting?
I mean, maybe if like they were shooting at the agents, but at the end of the day, I think we should dismantle that agency entirely.
Yes, I know.
I think
that.
it shouldn't exist.
I
was born before it.
I got you.
It didn't exist when I was born.
Yeah.
It shouldn't exist now.
Right.
It should.
Yeah, I got that full clear.
The NSA shouldn't be reading all our emails. They shouldn't be turning on our cameras and our microphones and listening in on us.
Right.
You know.
But like if we go back to like.
But you're asking the wrong question. That's what I say. You're asking
like if
the
you
wrong
take
question.
a situation like I understand in your view I shouldn't exist. I gotcha.
Yeah.
But it does, and these things have happened. So if we go to like the Renee Good situation, right? Mm-hmm. And we kind of, this is a weird thing to say, but like we're going at the scenario and we're changing things around. If you could change it around, this didn't happen, but if you were to change it around where she pulled out a gun and pointed at the officer and then he shot her dead, would you say that was a justified killing?
I mean, probably, yeah, but that's like not controversial at all, and you have to run to these like hypotheticals like that.
Well, it's just because I'm curious on your thoughts.
People draw on law enforcement all the time.
Sure.
All the time.
And that's why I just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
One of our local departments shot a guy dead who pulled a gun on them, but it was a toy gun. Didn't cause a lot of outrage.
Sure.
Because most people recognize, like,
just
you know
got
what
the
I mean?
orange on the barrel.
There wasn't, and this is the thing. It's like we live in this society, you know, and we all recognize how it operates and what it's like, and there are things that we just accept as normal, as an outcome.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Charlie Kirk saying, a certain number of people are going to have to die every year in school shootings for us to preserve the freedom of the Second Amendment, or just the fact that pedestrians are killed every year by vehicles, just because everybody needs a car to exist in this economy, except for the people who don't, who have to walk everywhere and use public transit, and they get hit by cars more often. We just accept that as normal. Oh, geez, and somebody died on such and such street. That's a tragedy. We accept a certain amount of air pollution because of heavy industry. That's all. A lot of the restrictions are being removed right now. But like, you know, civilization is a giant machine. Society is. And a lot of people are ground up and spit out by that machine. Not everybody gets to live a 80 years old surrounded by family and peacefully going life.
That was one of my favorite things you said in the first episode.
What?
Yeah, I forgot exactly what it was, but it had to do with that. You said something about the country is a something machine, and that so many people get chewed up and
spit out by like chaff. Just
that's what you said. Yeah,
and it's, you know, I don't like it. I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like us. The normalization of things has happened so gradually. You know what I mean? And I believe there's all these things that our system does to reinforce you accepting that that's normal, that you don't question it at all, that you don't hope for a better world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, but most of the people that I've talked to on the right would say, probably similar to the Charlie Kirk thing, what most people on the left would say what happened to him was a tragedy, right? Most people on the right would say what happened to Renee Good was a tragedy, what happened to Alex Pretti was a tragedy. But then they would disagree with, like, kind of where, like take the Alex Pretti thing. They would say, well, I'm not going to get on that again. We've already gone down that road. But the disagreements would come in. My point is, the disagreements would come in where why it happened, how it happened,
that kind of an issue where
Yeah.
they would point at different things. But there's not many people
sorry,
that are
but-
going to say, "Oh, yes, I'm so glad they're gone."
If
What a great thing.
if Donald Trump had not won the last election,
Mm-hmm.
Renee Good and Alex Pretti would still be alive and enjoying their lives. In Alex Pretti would still be serving our veterans in the VA. Renee Good's 6-year-old would be cradled in her arms, being sung his ABCs. So because of the decisions that this administration made to ramp up and escalate the way that they enforce so-called immigration law,
right.
you know, and again, these are laws they've changed on their whims. What is criminal and what is not. You know, there are outcomes of these decisions.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I tend to think anybody, you know, as we know, people keep dying in these camps, in these detention centers, which I call concentration camps. That's just something that people accept as, well, that's just, well, too bad, shouldn't have been here, illegal. And I literally see people say, well, they're called illegal. That's why we call them illegals, is because they shouldn't be here, so therefore it's justified violence. You know, we talked about the less dead, you know, in true crime. You know, Americans, we also feel that way overseas. There are people who we believe need to do the dying. And it ain't people who look like you and me. So, you know, that's why, this is an ethnic cleansing. I'm not the first to say it. I won't be the last. And these are dire times, and this is a serious. It's not just a political disagreement. It's a moral one.
Right.
And you know, people think that because you don't have the right piece of paper in your pocket, you're deserved of violence. And I think that's a horrifying thing.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We could somebody could decide tomorrow that, you know, and it's happened to religious minorities. Well, your religion is now no longer legal, and you belong in a camp, and you get to commit violence.
Yeah, in that scenario,
and that's terrifying.
That's terrifying. In that scenario, I would say, that is a moral.
But that's also what people are going through right now in our communities. People, like in the city we live in, people are afraid to leave their home. They're afraid to go to church. They're afraid to go to the store. They're afraid to live their lives the way they do. Even if they have all their affairs in order and all their documentation is correct, they're still afraid to do that because of the decisions that this administration has made.
Yeah. But we didn't really touch on the Don Lemon thing. So him being arrested.
There's now 4 journalists who've been arrested.
Right, but do you think him going into the church was protected? Do you think that's a protected way of protest to go in during the service?
He was doing journalism. He wasn't even protesting.
Okay.
This is the thing. You're having people being prosecuted for doing journalism.
So the people that were in there that were protesting during the service, do you think that was not okay? Or do you think that was a protected form of protest?
I don't know. I mean, they entered into a church that's open to anybody. They didn't break any doors or bash the windows in to go in there.
But they were in a church service. Like it'd be no different than if you and I were having some kind of, or like right now.
Yeah.
People obviously have the right to bust in my door.
The law that's being cited to arrest those protesters and now these journalists was intentionally a law that was made to protect churches from hate crimes, like when black churches are attacked or when synagogues are, you know, we've had synagogues in this country that have had pigs' heads thrown at them, mosques that have been vandalized with pig's blood. You know what I mean? We've had mass shootings at Sikh temples and mosques and churches as well, like inter-sectarian acts of terrorism. So the folks who went in and protested, they didn't do anything violent. They didn't attempt to intimidate anybody. They just protested the fact that the main pastor at the church was a local field agent for ICE.
Yeah, I understand.
Field manager.
I understand why they were protesting.
So,
I'm just saying, like, if you're in a church service, let's say, and you're pastoring a church, people are listening to what you're saying, and then people come in and disrupt that, and they're noisy. You can't no longer hear the service. I guess it'd be one thing if they came in and they sat down and they waited till afterwards. Pastor, we want to talk to you outside. Is that cool? Or, you know, that's different to me than interrupting the whole service.
I mean, there have been churches in this country that have moved around child predators, and I would think that if anybody went in mass to protest a church where they were harboring a child predator, I don't think I'd be that upset at the protesters.
Well, that would be to go save the kid, right? I mean, obviously, that's a time.
No. Just if people just walked into a church service with signs and stop harboring a child predator, maybe I wouldn't be so upset about it. So this is just the thing. It's like churches have been invaded by ICE and CPB, and they're, you know what I mean? Churches, personally, I think it's a bit of a, like, I don't know, from a, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
From an optics point of view, it's not a great look to be flooding into a church as a protester. You could go stand in front of the church.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's not a decision I would make as a protester, but does that mean a journalist who was there covering? I mean, Don Lemon interviewed the pastor, not the guy. That guy, the one who's the ICE manager, didn't show up that day.
Yeah.
But
what's he being charged with? Do you know?
That the same law that the protesters are being charged with, that they're hate criming a church essentially for having any kind of targeting of the church, like it is something to do with their religion, when it really is a specific grievance with one staff member there who is involved in an ethnic cleansing in their community. So
because they're saying that he was kind of instrumental in. He wasn't just like he happened to be driving by and he's like, hey, it looks like a protest.
No, the organizers of the protest notified him and other journalists that what they were going to do, so he went there to cover the event. That's journalism. It's protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. This is a further erosion of constitutional rights, and this is a lawless administration. They wield the law as a weapon against their political foes. There's no objectivity to it at all.
Yeah.
They some of their cases have been thrown out because they're so incompetent in the way that they do that. But they have made clear that that's their motivation and that's what they're doing. I don't really take on good faith that some journalists are criminals from the administration that is blocking the release of files relating to the largest human trafficking case that we've ever seen, the trafficking of children by wealthy elites. So I don't take any of what they're saying on any type of good faith, right? And so this is just, the FBI raided a journalist a few weeks ago to their home for information. That's a blatant line step over the First Amendment. So they are choosing their targets the way they do. Don Lemon, every other journalist, there's 4 of them now. Every journalist they've arrested for this was black. And so they, are targeting their political enemies and enemies that excite their base. Like that's Don Lemon has long been a target of this political coalition. So that's what you're seeing is a political retribution, not anything to do with justice. I saw Don Lemon interviewed some of the congregants, and they were upset. And, I feel for them that their Sunday was disrupted, But Don Lemon still went the extra mile to get their opinion. And this one congregant was like, I don't know why you're mad at us. And he's like, whoa, I'm not a protester. I'm just a journalist. This is why I'm talking to you. I'm asking everybody here why they're here. Yeah. Or how do you feel about this happening? So that's just journalism. That's not... I think Don Lemon isn't like a paragon of perfect journalism.
That's what I was going to ask you.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
In this situation, it doesn't. Yeah,
he's an enemy of the state. The way that this state operates, this authoritarian gangster state.
Yeah.
I don't like to mince my words, right?
I know.
Even though I worry. I like it. I worry about what the outcome might be. Yeah. Because when you speak truth to power, and power exercises violence against people, including journalists. Yeah. We've had many journalists attacked by these shock troops. Yeah. Photographers who've had their eyes shot out by, pepper balls and whatnot. And priests too. Yeah. There are priests who who've been attacked and assaulted by the federales and all of this too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for that concerned about religious groups being targeted,
Yeah. Yeah.
lightning round.
Well, I'm kind of looking at some of this stuff, and I'm like, well, we kind of already covered that. We kind of already covered that, which I kind of figured was going to happen, just because we get going, and obviously we're
yammering.
We're talking about the same things, but I know a lot of this we kind of went over. Either that, or it's not really relevant to what we didn't talk about yet. But yeah, we could probably be good if you're good.
Do you have any other last thing you want to cover?
But yeah, so one of the things, and maybe we'll end with this, but I mean, one of the things kind of down the religious scope, we were talking before, it was back in October, so you might have a better memory of this than me, but
Octubre.
we were kind of talking about intelligent design and how I personally feel that any kind of belief outside of at least bare minimum intelligent design doesn't make any sense to me. But to say, again, when we get all the nitty gritty of which religious figure, is it Jesus, is it Muhammad, is it whatever, and you get in all that, that can get a little dicey, and that there's obviously a lot of nuance there, and you can go a lot of different roads on why people believe which one's true or not true and all that. But just the general idea that something, I don't care what it is, space aliens, cosmic orb or whatever, right, created life as we know it. Even if we're going the evolutionary route and say, but something set that evolutionary process in motion. And it was not just something, it was something with intelligence. And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were kind of like, no. Yeah. Like you don't have any reason to even believe that.
Don't think so, yeah.
So I guess, I guess...
My whole thing is, the natural is super enough. Like, why can't we look at the cosmos, which goes off into seemingly infinity for as far as we can see.
Yeah.
For light years upon galaxies. Upon,
amazing.
Antimatter, black holes, and, gravity wells and exploding stars. And we know that, the minerals in our blood are born in the furnaces of exploding, dying stars and all of this. Why is that not good enough? Why is that not super enough? The fact that natural processes happen.
Yeah, it's not that it's not super enough. It's that it has to be super is the question I'm asking. There has to be something other than just like nothing.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
It's the idea that it's outside of the natural. I don't necessarily...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't necessarily think there's anything outside of the natural that we're experiencing. Even there's this mundane... we're all living in time, one direction only. We're aware of all the time that's come before. But then, there's also particle physics and all these things that, how energy and matter and material world operate and exist that we've become aware of. And to me, like you hear intelligent design proponents try to say, so you think we're all just molecules in motion? And it's like, well, first of all, we're more than just molecules in motion, but atoms and quarks and neutrinos and all these other things.
Complexity.
But the idea that that's nothing, like that. No, it's not nothing. It's all many things, and we know that like all the matter that exists is dependent on antimatter.
Right.
So there is a broad scope of material reality that is even perceivable to us. None of us would survive a fall into a black hole. Most likely, we'd be just
Yeah, but I don't think the claim is that we are like it's nothing or that it is nothing.
Well,
it's that it's coming from nothing. That it just happened over trillions of years or whatever.
The Big Bang is the idea that there was nothing, and somehow there. But we can't again. That's like, how can we conceive of that? No thing, like literally no thing at all. No time. Time. The characteristics of physics that exist for time to exist did not exist before the Big Bang. And even like saying that before the Big Bang, that's like a misnomer. That's that's two mammals, slapping their tongues on the insides of their mouths, right, to try to explain something that happened eons and eons and eons ago. So for me, like the whole intelligent design debate, it's like we would have been having an evolution isn't true debate before that, before evolution has been proven well beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a fact. Evolution's a fact. And
but you would say that the many people, even with like PhDs in biology and everything else, that would disagree with that statement, you would say that
who
they're
disagrees with
wrong.
that statement?
Oh, I could find lots. I'll send
Is
you
there
some
any
names.
evolutionary biologist who's disproven in a lab setting that evolution doesn't exist?
Well, if they don't believe in evolution, they wouldn't be an evolutionary biologist, right? But they would be a biologist, a study.
But that's the thing is, nobody's disproven evolution. You might say you don't agree with it,
right? But you're saying it's a proven state of fact, which means nobody could debunk it.
We've observed it, we've repeated it. Your little Shih Tzu is evolution. We selectively bred a timber wolf into that. What was his name? He's a really goofy creationist. The banana, the Australian guy.
Oh, he's New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Ray Comfort.
Ray Comfort.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, God must exist because a banana is shaped perfectly for your hand in your mouth. We selectively bred banana. You ever seen a wild banana? It's a tiny, weird little thing with tons of seeds. You wouldn't want to eat it. It tastes like crap.
Yeah.
We selectively bred it that way. Evolution, we've observed it. We've observed speciation in our lifetime with fruit flies. You selectively breed fruit flies in certain conditions, and you'll get subspecies and species.
Well, but that's not okay. So there's macro evolution and micro evolution.
No,
right?
there's just evolution. What you're talking about is different
adaptation.
Microevolution is a word that's used to describe shorter periods of time in evolution. Okay, so it's all evolution. It's all the same thing.
They both have evolution on the end, but my point is...
Yeah, but they're describing the same process that is just evolution, which is a proven fact.
Well, the only reason I'm separating the two, and you're right, they both have evolution in them, but my point is most, like I would agree with things like, I would say, well, yes. Like you look at like the famous Galapagos with Darwin and the finches and the whole thing. Their beaks changing over time in order to get seeds or whatever.
The tortoises, the different
fine.
tortoises.
But then macro would be more, a bird to a lizard, or maybe the other way around. I forgot. Lizard to a chicken to a monkey to a human. Right?
Whoa! It didn't happen that way.
I know. I'm sure I'm messing up.
Here's the thing.
The line.
Zoom out again. This is part of my whole thing. Seeing the bigger picture.
Sure.
Dogs. Your little Shih Tzu there. Domesticated dogs. Coyote and timber wolf. They can all interbreed and have viable offspring. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Because they're the same species.
No,
right?
They're not. No, they're not. They are different species, but they have a close enough common ancestor that they can interbreed.
Okay.
Horses and donkeys, they'll have a lame offspring because their ancestors are... There's a farther back lineage of their ancestor. Okay?
But what are the terms? Phylus, genus...
please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Is that what it comes?
Or is that the planets? Pluto, Earth? No,
I don't know.
But yeah, there's a list.
I can't remember.
But my point is, like, dogs will all connect on one of those levels.
But hold on. So dogs are mammals. We are mammals. Dogs are vertebrates. We are vertebrates.
Sure.
Cats, felines are not the same. They have a common ancestor with dogs. They're quadrupedal vertebrate mammals, but that ancestor is so far back.
Right, canine and feline.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. What is that
have
classification?
Is that family or genera?
Yeah, because it's that one, right? That's the one that they can all interbreed. But if you go past that, no. Feline and canine can't interbreed.
Genus. That's genus.
Genus. Okay.
So,
thank you. You said it was genius.
I looked it up.
You're like genius, Ryan. That's genius. No.
Genius.
I know.
That's genius. So we, we are our ancestor. If you go far enough back, was like a shrew, a rodent, during like when dinosaurs were alive. Mm-hmm. The mammals that were able to survive the Armageddon that extincted most of the dinosaurs, which didn't extinct all the dinosaurs. Chickens are descended of dinosaurs. Alligators look like dinosaurs. Iguanas, Komodo dragons.
But aren't we all descended from dinosaurs? in evolution? Because we all started as an amoeba.
Well, if you only look at far enough back, yes, far enough back. That's what makes life so incredible. Is like, I call myself a humanist, but really, like, at the end of the day, every plant and animal. If you don't want to, if you put no value judgment on any creature, even parasites and worms and amoebas and everything you're talking about, we have flora and fauna living in our guts and crawling around our eyebrows, and like, for us to live, tons of other creatures have to live, and we build up these houses and these facades to separate us from nature, but we are.
But see, that could very clearly be a good argument for intelligent design.
Why though?
Because
why does it need an intelligence?
I didn't say it needs, but I mean, it's just it just makes more sense. Right? If everything fits together like that. So
you're a brain in a skull. So am I.
Yeah.
We're mammals with we don't even have the largest brains. Yeah. Elephants, blue whale. They're social species. They're social mammals. They have culture too, even though they don't build tools. We've seen chimps building tools.
Yeah.
But you're a brain defining the universe and saying that it must have taken some kind of intelligence. To me, we have a bias in that. Like, you have a bias. You say, well, it must be. I, as a thinking agent, can't understand how there couldn't be a thinking agent to make all this happen.
Right.
Therefore, to me, it's a logical fallacy. I can't think of no other reason. Which logical fallacy is that? It's called an argument from ignorance, where, well, I can't think of a good answer for it, so it must be the answer that I think it is.
Well, I think it's well, that's one way to put it, but I mean, it's also kind of like a process of elimination, right? That's basically what you're saying.
You're trying to eliminate the most existence itself.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that that's the only possible explanation, or that there's no other way. I'm just saying that makes the most sense. That's all. To me.
To you, but do you think you might have motivated reasoning?
No.
Well, not me. I can't be biased.
No. Well,
I accept that I'm biased.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I don't know if I told you any of this part of my story, but or not. But I hated Christians most of my life. I hated them. I hated them.
But that's a lot of people's.
Yeah.
So
my point is, I wouldn't jump in
here nor there
to something if I had a preconceived, like, I really want this to be true.
Yeah.
So let me, like, block out all evidence to the contrary and try to pick this.
I've never hated. I've been annoyed with and maybe biased against religions and sometimes religious people and how they act. But I really have nothing against religions or religious people.
You're a better man than me.
I think. Why. Well, like it's easy. It's easy to demonize the people who you don't identify with, you don't understand. Yeah. But it's like. It's also, to me, it's a critical thinking thing where it's like, wait, everybody claims divine providence. Everybody claims
that was
correct.
My issue. Yeah.
Everybody claims everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Could it be, that's George Carlin again. Could it be everybody?
Right.
And could it be like, and that's the thing. I told you about the whole terminology agnostic atheist.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a positive belief in a deity, so I'm a theist, right?
Yeah.
The negation of a theist, but I am agnostic, meaning I don't claim any hard, like I don't have a hard, like say that I have a monopoly on hard truth that I definitely know for sure.
Correct.
But I also, for me, it's like, what is most likely? Like, looking at the chaos of the world and the craziness of everything, and just how there, like, so many things that happen, there is no rhyme or reason, no good reason at all. Mm-hmm. And
in your opinion,
that's very difficult for us to comprehend, that the universe is cold and uncaring and does not have
I wouldn't agree with
best interest. Well, I think there are things about it that are wonderful and warm and happy. And again, we're a social species. And
there's bad
together.
Things happening in the world for sure. I'm not denying.
But there are things that are totally indifferent. Like, totally indifferent. Like, again, massive amounts of the cosmos, there's nothing there. There's no thinking agent. There's no biological life. There's even no matter. There's antimatter. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it has no concern for you and me here. It's like we're the one, like, life-sustaining planet on this, that we know of in this solar system. Mars has evidence of water, but not yet evidence of life. It's like, okay, water, big deal. Water could happen anywhere.
Sure.
We just know as water is one of the very important elements of life here. We're made up of a lot of water.
Right.
And so, like, we're looking out into the cosmos, and it's not telling us anything back other than light and light bouncing off of all the other things and all the motion we can see and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, I know people who are convinced that there are space aliens and...
Oh, you sure? The episode I did 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I need to check
Big
that
time
one out.
aliens.
I
I even chased the episode graphic to show that.
To me, I have no problem accepting that there probably is life elsewhere in the cosmos. Why? Because there's life here. It's almost like a mathematical impossibility that there wouldn't be some kind of other life out there.
But you would still say that
whether it's
if it's
mold
out there.
or amoebas or something completely different than anything we've ever comprehended here.
But you would say that was the same process, just an unguided natural
material reality. Things banging up against each other and gravity and
stardust bumping into
natural
stardust.
Processes. Yeah, molecules.
Somebody said that. Was it Lawrence Krauss or
maybe
somebody said that?
Yeah, he's a bit of a problematic figure too.
But very intelligent.
Come up to my hotel room. That kind of stuff. But it's just like one of those things. Again, nobody's perfect. We're all just human beings.
Yeah.
We're primates after all. And to me, it's like I'm interested in the here and now. I only have this life to live. I don't think there's anything else for me anyway after this. I think this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Heaven and hell is here on earth. Whether it's how we make it, and that's why I think we should have more brotherhood towards one another.
Yeah. And let me ask you,
peace and goodwill towards men. You know what I mean? Like those are beautiful principles, and they are expressions of humanity. But you see how easily religious doctrines can be twisted to.
Oh, dude! We could do a whole nother 3 hours on that alone.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know if I asked you this the first time or not, because again, back in October, long ago, in October.
Yeah.
Is there any part of you that wishes there was an afterlife? Are you like totally cool with just whatever 80, 90 years or whatever we get and that's it? Or do you wish, like in your grandest hopes and dreams, that there might be something after?
Not really. Because listening to enough people talk about this, and like Christopher Hitchens is one of the great atheist paragons, and he talked about the idea of a God, and he said, so you have a father who will never die, will never let you grow up and stand on your own feet. He's always lording over you. He's always watching you, and he's going to make you atone for everything you've ever done, and he's going to punish you. And
but see, that's one of those straw men. Well, because most Christians would say that's not the way I would characterize the God.
Sure, that's fine, but there's also just the idea that you have he's called the Father, and like,
oh sure,
if you live long enough, we all go through the grief of losing our parents.
Yes,
and it's an awful thing, but it's also something you have to come to terms with because it's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
and you have to prepare your children for that.
Yep.
And it is like just the cold splash of water on your face of reality.
Yeah.
Like we're not, and that's why like the idea of an afterlife, like, man, like life is a struggle. Life is survival, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Because I am a secular person. Like I believe that's why I think art is so amazing, is we can literally, like alchemy, forge the world we want around us, like make a reality, make a parallel reality in our heads, like Lord of the Rings or whatever other, Game of Thrones or whatever we're talking about.
No, it's limitless, really.
And it's beautiful, but that's our imagination, and I do think the metaphorical is very powerful for us.
Right.
But I think when you try to like grab onto that as if it's like the dirt beneath your feet or the rock and the stone, even mountains have been ground into the ocean.
Yeah,
nothing's permanent.
Yeah,
and
but think about this though, real quick. Think about like the creative process, right? Artists, musicians, all these different avenues of artistic expression, right? Which you and I both appreciate, all that stuff. But even with like, you know, someone like you that creates music and makes music, you are limited, right? You can create music in any genre. You can even create a new genre of music, right? Like before punk rock existed, nobody knew what punk rock was. They didn't know what that was in the 1700s. What the heck is this stuff? It's like that scene in Back to the Future where Michael J. Fox starts playing that Chuck Berry song, and they're like, "What the heck is this?" You know. But you're limited because you can't go beyond the A through G scale. You have to create music within that, right? Or art. You can all you can do in art if you're a painter is you can
visible
only,
light spectrum.
Right, and you have a certain number of colors, and every mix of colors and everything, but every new quote unquote new color you come up with is going to be just a mixture of the ones we already have, or a different shade of the ones we already have. No one's going to come up with some new color. That look. I mean, you can't even think of a different color, right? Me and you can't sit there and think up a new color.
They actually have come up with different colors and different shades of colors. So, and
shades,
even within the 12-tone scale, there are cultures that have the 24-note octave. Like there's microtonality. So,
but that's all within,
even then you can push the boundary.
Yes.
But I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I have friends who get involved in visual arts too, and there's almost an illusion that happens. It's same with like films and any piece of art that you can make and then put up on a shelf or preserve. I feel like gives this illusion, this false sense of, in a way, that is our own. That's like there's almost like I almost think of it as a religiosity that pining for an afterlife in your art. Like I will live beyond my years.
Sure.
In that work of art. I'm a musician. I've hardly done any recording. I usually play acoustic instruments.
Yeah.
As soon as you're done with that song, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Poof. It only exists for the moment that you perform it.
Unless you record it.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't done a lot of recording, so I don't have that illusion that like art, that's the thing, art is special to us.
Yeah.
But art at the end of the day, it is completely superfluous. Doesn't you know, in our capitalist society you can make the argument, but at the end of the day, art doesn't feed you. Art doesn't build the hut. Art doesn't tend the fire.
Feeds the soul, though.
Exactly. It's what we do for our emotional well-being. It's what we do to connect with one another. It's how we communicate with each other. And all human cultures have it. And at different forms of art, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and that's how I view religion too. It's a form of art. That's why it engages so many art forms: sculpture and paintings, and architecture and music, and all these other things. It's an expression of humanity, and I think that's beautiful. I mean, that's what I love about. You know, I call myself like, you know, a lot of secular humanists will say like, I'm a citizen of the world. You know, and it's like I love. You know, there's beauty in all of the art. There's beauty in all of the cultures. There's beauty in, you know, all the places you can visit. You're going to see things that are remarkable and spectacular, whether it's a little rural, you know, cottage in England, or whether it's a temple in, you know, somewhere in India, or whether it's the incredible human artifice of a city like Los Angeles. Like even though there are all the things we associate as bad with, you know, a big giant city like Skid Row and crime or whatever else, I still marvel at the beauty of that. That when you drive through LA at night and you see the downtown, it's remarkable. It's stunning. It's beautiful. And I my spirituality is connected to right here and right now, everybody on this planet. But there is a spiritual war being waged amongst ourselves over how things should be and how things, and you know, to me, what bothers me about so much religion, not just monotheistic religion but Buddhism or Taoism, is you are given an easy out, an individualistic escape hatch to not engage or connect with the world around you. It's well, I have to protect my peace, and I'm going to go do inner work and silent retreat, and you know what I mean. Like that stuff bothers me, and you know, there's a fear and there's a disdain for the world and for people that is significant through, and it is not. relegated to any one political faction or group or side or religion.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere, and it's a challenge. There's the antisocial part of me who doesn't want to leave the house and doesn't want to talk to anybody, doesn't want to deal with anything.
Yeah.
Just what is that the famous rant from what's his name in that movie about the news? I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
12 Angry Men.
No. That's the guy. He's on the news, and
Yeah, isn't that the name of the movie?
no, the 12 Angry Men is about jurors. That one is where I can't remember the actor, but he's screaming into the
I can't take it
television
anymore.
camera. Yeah, he goes, please leave me alone in my house with my things and my television set and my toaster oven and let me be. Like, there is that part of us that wants to just close off the rest of the world, but the world and humanity's in a bit of a crisis, and has been. And you study your history, you listen to the old songs, and you are humbled by the fact that this struggle's been going on a long time.
Yeah.
And you're Gandalf at the end of The Hobbit. He tells Bilbo, it's at the very end of The Hobbit, and he goes, "It's a very big world, Mr. Baggins, and you are just one little part of it."
Yeah.
So that's humbling, and I feel like religions, a lot of politics and things, our culture, in hyper individualist culture, it gives everybody this illusion that we call it protagonist or syndrome or main character syndrome,
right?
Where we're all our own little main characters,
center of the universe,
heroes on our hero's journey rather than part of a greater whole and collective.
Right.
And I think that's difficult. Is nobody's guiding it except you're guiding your own life. You're also buffeted around by by the forces of nature, but also the forces in society that funnel you in these directions. If whether you're at the beach and a wave crashes over your head, or whether you're on social media and
a wave crashes over your head,
and a mob of people react to something you said and it was the wrong thing, and they humble you that way, or you know what I mean. So I see all those things existing. And
how about the soul? Does the soul exist? Yes or no?
I don't know. Consciousness exists.
Okay.
We're conscious beings.
But do you think that's like in the brain? That's like a
I don't know. I mean,
thing?
we now know that like brain neurons a lot of them are like made in the heart and then pumped up to the brain, like the raw goods of our neurons. Like so people when they say I feel it in my heart, and the same with your gut makes like some of that stuff for neurons. So it's like we're a whole
very symbiotic.
We're a whole thing. You know what I mean? And we we are conscious beings. And we connect with one another, and we, and I don't think it's a mystery why so many people are in crisis and male loneliness epidemic, but everybody's lonely, and how we're isolated and how this is happening because we have this technology that not only does it connect us, but it also isolates us from one another, from sitting across from a table from each other, making eye contact like we are now. And discussing things and considering things and sitting with uncomfortable truths and rather than just vilifying, making people the villains. Now we have computers that will concoct the wild fever dreams that we have about the villains we made in our heads.
Right.
I've had to tell people, like I've sat with people who are like, oh man, I can't believe I'm talking or I'm doing whatever, like musicians, because I play music. I've had people who I've known in the community for a long time be like, oh, I can't believe I'm getting nervous, like I'm playing with Joe Payne, and I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And I'm like, I say this, kill the Joe Payne that exists in your head,
right? Because
I'm just a guy right here with you. I'm just and same thing with like people who think I'm arrogant or I'm a libtard or I'm a whatever, you know what I mean? I'm a evil socialist. Like, hey man, we're all just human beings. We're all just trying to make it through this. Like, there's going to be a day and a time where I'm not here anymore. And just like, I believe in love and respect and human dignity for everybody, regardless. And I'll live and die on those principles. You know? So,
all right.
Stand on my business.
Did you ever see the debate between John Lennox and Christopher Hitchens?
It's
a good one.
I might have seen the Lennox debate.
Because when it comes to the atheists, I think to me, probably Christopher Hitchens is probably my favorite.
Yeah, well,
just because he's very intelligent and he's funny.
Yeah, he's funny.
Like he the way he delivers stuff is great. He just seems like I could hang out with that guy. I feel like I can't now.
A lot of people would want to hang out with him because it seemed like a lot of fun. What was his thing from that?
Oh, it's a lot. It's just it's a really great back and forth. If you haven't seen it, you should.
I've seen
John Lennox is a British. He's really old now too. He's got to be in his 80s.
Yeah,
but he's still writing books. Still, But he's got a really neat backstory too.
Yeah,
But
there are those like opponents of Hitchens that you could tell he had respect for, and those he didn't.
Yeah,
and those ones are fun too.
Well, it seems like the vast majority of the Christian kind of debater community loved Christopher Hitchens. They enjoyed debating Christopher Hitchens,
Help you sell
even though
tickets.
they were well, not just that, but I mean they were just like they liked him.
Yeah.
They disagreed with him on a lot of stuff, but they liked him as a person.
He was a charmer. He was a charmer, and that tells you that's the thing is he would also just. I mean, there's certain people who hated his guts because of he embarrassed them. You know what I mean? Like go watch anything he did with Sean Hannity. It's hilarious.
They had debates,
dude. You never seen that?
No, but I don't think.
Oh
Sean
my
Hannity
god,
knows.
he had one of the funny. They were debating this, like intelligent design or whatever, and he goes, "I hate to have to say it, but you strike me as a person who's never read anything once against your own argument." And it's just like brutal,
and he's
just
probably
brutal.
Right.
What do you say to that? And so literally, it's the whole thing is just, oh, you're such an elitist piece of crap. How dare you? And it's like you're right. I am.
See, and that's Hannity, whatever that guy.
I mean, he's a propagandist. But
and I feel like he is uninformed. I feel like he just says things that he's heard and he hasn't really researched anything. I just feel like
he's a mouthpiece.
Exactly.
I mean, he's texting love letters to Trump, and
I shouldn't say that because I'm sure Sean Hannity's going to listen to this, and he's going to be like, Ryan, I'm so offended.
You just lost your invite to Fox News.
Dang it.
How dare you? You gotta play the game, man.
All right, last thing, dude. Fallout. Have you seen the show Fallout?
No, I would like to, but
I have to watch it.
I haven't. I've heard
because
it's good.
I can tell you right now, and I want you to do this when you watch it. I want you to text me, and I want you to tell me which things represent what, because I don't know. But I know that you would be able to drag that out because I know that's what the show is going for.
I've never played the game, but
I haven't either.
As far as I know, it's like it's a very much a critique on the atomic age, like the 50s.
That's in there, yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like it's a fallout of a nuclear war, and where you're living in the dystopian nuclear. Post-nuclear.
It's great, dude.
Yeah,
I love it.
But it has all these influences of what was going on in the 50s.
Oh,
like the westerns and the and the gee golly gosh, like how much is that doggy in the window type of the 50s pastiche of idealized America.
There's a lot of imperialism in their stuff too. A lot of that. That's what I'm saying. You're gonna dig it. It's really, really cool.
Yeah,
very, very violent.
Oh yeah, of course.
So my wife.
Yeah, it's based off of a shooter video.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, people when they shoot people, they don't just get shot; they like explode and stuff. So it's
have you seen The Last of Us?
No, but I want to. Dude, listen to this. So sorry. So I go to Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, okay.
I love it over there. And 2 years ago, they had a Last of Us maze.
Okay.
Never played the game, never seen the show.
Yeah.
Walked through it, said, "Oh, this is really cool. I should watch the show."
That's cool.
And then last year
they're
they
creepy
had
zombies. They're fungus zombies.
Yeah, they're like plant zombies. But then last year they had a Fallout maze.
Yeah.
Again, never seen the show, never played the game, nothing. But just going through the maze made me think, "Oh, dude, this looks really cool." You got the zombie guy with the cowboy hat, and you got the girl in the blue jumpsuit,
Goggins,
and the whole
Walton Goggins.
Yeah,
so much fun. Whatever he does.
Well, see, and I've never seen him in anything else. The cowboy hat. I was like, "Oh, I love that character."
The skull face dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. So,
Goggins, he's the man.
He's
but
really cool.
you've never seen the Gemstones?
No.
Or Righteous Gemstones?
But
that's one of his funniest. That's like his he's been around a long time. He's been in stuff, but he's always like, some guy. He was in 12 Years a Slave. He was in, or maybe it was Django Unchained, or I can't remember which. But he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He's a Southerner too, so he can give the drawl and the
he just plays that role beautifully.
Yeah. But I don't have high standards for a show or a movie based on a video game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I don't either.
The Last of Us was like, wow.
Is it really good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's heavy. It's good. But that's
Did
the
it
thing.
get canceled though?
I don't think so.
Well, how many seasons were there? 2?
I don't know if they're done with it yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, it's based off a video game. It has a narrative and it's violent because it's based off a video game where you're shooting things all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But, and not just zombies. But so. Yeah, we've been about to start Fallout.
Okay.
Right now we're watching one that's on Prime that's called City on on the Hill.
Oh no,
Dude,
haven't heard of it.
It's Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
A bunch of other great actors, but Kevin Bacon is a debauched, corrupt FBI agent in Boston in the 90s.
Nice.
And everyone, and for my wife and I joke around, I go, "It's Boston. Everyone's racist. Let's watch the Boston." But he is, it's dark and messed up. But I don't know if it's about real stuff that happened or if it.
But stuff that could happen.
Yeah, they're like investigating they're investigating like some heisters, some guys who have pulled off a armored car heist, and he has confidential informants, and he's just a corrupt creep and cheating on his wife and just snorting stuff and
real
in his
upstanding
car.
kind of guy.
Yeah, and just a total degenerate Kevin Bacon, and it's like Kevin Bacon, like I other than Tremors or whatever, I can't think of like the Kevin Bacon movie, but I know he's always been there. But like we're just like Kevin Bacon.
He's awesome.
He's great in that
Stir of Echoes.
Okay,
That's a great movie.
Okay, gotta check.
Came out around the same time as Sixth Sense, so it was kind of thrown under the bus.
Oh, okay,
It's similar. A kid that has some kind of psychic abilities and stuff. Great movie.
He's not a ghost at the end, is he?
No.
Poor Bruce Willis, man. I feel sad about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Life is impermanent. All
True
things
that.
are impermanent.
True
man.
that. Cool, man. Thanks, dude.
We good?
Dude, yeah. This is
Ryan Hester.
This is so much
fun.
It is fun.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Please share it with everyone. To contact me, you can email me at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Thanks.
Your shirt is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Is that like
That's
custom
Gollum
made, or did you
I don't
buy
know.
that somewhere?
My wife got it for me for Christmas. It's Gollum holding a Taco Bell taco.
That's awesome.
And it's got like a night vision, like weird, like
really
he's
cool.
been caught unawares with it.
And of course, the taco is his precious.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we can all relate to.
Oh, my Crunchwrap Supreme! Oh, I just took it off the menu, precious. Like all that. Yeah.
Nice.
So, thank you.
I was hoping I would get some new impressions here on this
Thank
one.
you.
So.
I got a lot of them.
Yeah.
So.